Welcome to another stream. This is going to be slightly different. I'm going to be rating your teams live. So thank you very much to everyone who's been tuning in. And I've selected 15 of your teams. Apologies to anyone who sent in your teams, but I'm not able to cover them, at least having an image on the screen. But you can still put it in the live chat and I'll then, analyze your team in detail and I'll try to do it as much as possible. So thank you very much to everyone who's been tuning in. I'll try to go through some of your questions first. And the first team on screen is by Ninja Galati, who's been waiting even from before the stream starting. So thank you very much. That's the second time my team's on the thumbnail. Let's go. Thank you very much, Ninja, for sending your team as always. And I just think that a lot of your players, pretty interesting. So it's good to have on the thumbnail. But the same goes for a lot of the teams that have been sent in. Welcome, Hospa. Yeah, early Gan, obviously very much appreciate to all of you who've been waiting even before the stream started. Welcome Hamza, good to see you here, and your team does feature here as well later on if you can stay around. Lipok says 6 days without football and I'm dying. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the only game I really watched from internationals was Argentina-Uruguay, and even then Argentina were pretty poor in that game. But in terms of the Europe, I can't watch the European qualifiers. I mean, England facing Albania, I mean, some people thought it might be a bit difficult, but I just always thought it would be an easy England win, and the fact they're at home, it was just never in doubt. And 4-0 at half-time just says it all. The only good thing about England now is that more Arsenal players are in there, so I've got a bit more of a connection to the team, but even then they were all on the bench. Welcome to Models in Scale. Got F1 this week to watch some. Okay, yeah, after this stream is done, I'm going to be watching the sprint race, and let's see if they actually make a decision about Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. It's just all sorts of drama, in Parc Ferme. The Flying Dutchman says, I'll probably miss the stream. Unfortunately, have a good one. Thank you very much for stopping by, Flying Dutchman. And it's no worries, mate. Obviously, very much appreciate that you stopped by. Welcome, Rock and Roll. Thank you very much for, it's just a very good introductory message. Welcome, everyone. Remember to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you very much, mate. And remember, no spamming and easy on the caps. And Dylan will try his best to answer. Thank you very much, Rock and Roll, for your understanding. And that's pretty much how it goes. He pretty much summed it up. I don't need to say it myself. Welcome, Basanta. Good to see you here again. Welcome, Hospa. Once again, thank you, Aranya. Your team is also in here. Welcome, it's Arif. Good to see you here. Nabil, Abdelayla, thank you very much. Eternal, how do I send my team? It's pretty much through Twitter and Instagram, but I'm not able to, because otherwise I'd have to stop the stream pretty much and then go to, and set everything up on OBS. But you can send in your teams in the live chat at some point. After we've gone through the 15 teams, you can send in your teams here and then I'll read them out and then talk about what's good and what could be improved. Hi, I have Ronaldo and Greenwood. Who do I need to replace? I'd rather keep Ronaldo and replace Greenwood with a Jota, a Foden, or someone else. That's what I'd do. Welcome, Miss Arif again. Mirza. Should I do Vardy to Kane? Yeah, but if not, you could just keep Vardy for this nice run of fixtures after Chelsea. So maybe that's what you could do, to be fair. Welcome, Ninja, once again. Welcome, Eddie. Hi there. It was good. I did a transfer on Cancelo for Rudiger. Also, if Lukaku is fit, should I get him for Vardy? No, I would probably keep Vardy. Wait and see with Lukaku. The only strikers I'd move Vardy on for is Kane and Ronaldo. Welcome, Kobe. Good to see you here once again, and all good, mate. Hopefully you're good too. I want Ronaldo and Greenwood to replace. Yeah, I think did I answer your question? Yeah, I'd replace Greenwood with Foden or Jota. Well, it's too late, Josh, to send the teams in for it to feature on screen, but you can send it in the live chat later on. So just kind of a heads up for anyone sending the teams now in the live chat. I'll read them out later on after I've actually gone through these teams on screen, but thank you very much. International football, when your national team isn't the best, is crazy. Yeah. It is in a way, but then again, if you start developing and, start improving, it gets better. How do we send our teams? Yeah, once again, it's Twitter and Instagram. Some people send it through email as well, and everything can be found on my YouTube page. And of course, I'll be showing you my socials later on. It's still an _RCM, but in order, for it to feature on screen, that time has passed for that because I've already selected 15 teams, and if I were to add even more, I'd obviously have to stop the stream pretty much. Welcome, John, for tuning in once again. Benteke instead of Tony from Vardy to enable Son. I mean, that is a shout, to be fair, but I think in certain cases Benteke might be benched, like he was, I think, against Manchester City, so I'm not too sure about that one. But when Benteke starts, he could actually be a decent player, and to be honest, look at all the strikers at the moment. Can Serbia beat Portugal? Definitely. They're, I think, level on points, aren't they? I'll be honest, I haven't really been keeping an eye on the qualifiers, but Serbia have a decent team, so definitely, I think they can. Do I think they will? That's a different story, but I think there's definitely a chance. Son or Kane? Once again, look, I always say Son, in my opinion, at least so far, offers better value for money, but I would still probably go for Kane on a wild card, and that's because he's a placeholder for Ronaldo or someone else like Lukaku when he comes back. But I think, if that's not really something you're thinking about, I'd just rather go for Son. I think he offers better value for money. Welcome, Melvin. And welcome, Genius Gamer. It's so hard to choose between Game and Vardy. Yeah, it is. I'm still going to be keeping Vardy, I think, but I am tempted to get Harry Kane. But let's actually talk about the teams now on screen, and then once again I'll talk through any other new teams that come in through the live chat. So on screen we have Ninja Galatis team. I'll try and get up the messages, see if anything was said in terms of like the transfer plans, but I'm not too sure if there were. So let's see. 1 second. Yeah, bringing in Gallagher and Lamptey next week for the Brentford duo. Yeah, I actually like that a lot, especially Gallagher. I think he's just a much better long-term pick. It could actually backfire potentially this week with Mbeumo facing Newcastle, but I think it's worth it. So I'd actually do that. Rico Henry, I mean, he did score last week, but then again, I think Lamptey and Brighton will just offer you better value. So to be honest, I really like those moves. I'm seeing a lot of teams actually getting Gabriel Jesus. He's becoming more of a popular option. I still prefer Foden to cover City attack, but to be honest, I like your midfield a lot. Getting Gallagher in there, Salah captain, Son and Jared Bowen. I've been talking about him a lot, especially in my last video. I think is a really good choice. I like your defence a lot. The only way to improve this, if you have money to spare, is to do Christensen to one of the Chelsea fullbacks or Antonio Rudiger. But other than that, I can't really think of ways to improve this team. Hwang is a bit of a difficult one. I'd keep him for the next few game weeks, but from game week 14 onwards, that's when I'd probably look to sell him. But the rest is fine. Brownhill has your fifth option, Ramsdale and Gaeta. You've got the two best goalkeepers. So ultimately, the only way to improve this is the transfers you're making in there, and also getting one of the Chelsea fullbacks for Christensen if possible. But to be honest, it's a really good team. I like Jared Bowen a lot. The only thing maybe is in a few weeks' time you want to get Ronaldo in. How would you fund that? That might require downgrade from Son, but then again, you probably would want Son for the long run. The fixtures for Spurs are absolutely fantastic for a long period of time. And as for Jared Bowen, I mean, he is. I'm telling you, I think him and Antonio are the two best West Ham assets at the moment. I know Antonio's been blanking a lot, but obviously, one thing you could do actually, when West Ham's fixtures turn, you could do Gabriel Jesus down to Antonio, but then again, City do have some very nice fixtures there. But that's pretty much my suggestions to improve. I think Antonio for Jesus in maybe around game week 16 or 18, but mainly the two transfers you suggested, I think they're fine, and getting a Chelsea fullback for Christensen. Apart from that, very good team. And if you want a rating, I mean, it's definitely at least a solid 8, but yeah, I think ratings are a bit overrated, especially with these kind of teams here on screen. So in the live chat also, I'm very interested to know what your thoughts are on this team as well. Try to keep it respectful, of course, but I think it's a pretty solid team, to be honest. And in terms of the captaincy, I pretty much agree. I'd be tempted by a Son captaincy against Leeds, but yeah, I wouldn't captain anyone else. Maybe Cancelo, he's also another one, but the rest, not really captaincy options in my opinion. I think Jesus could have a good game against Everton, but not enough for me to captain him, to be honest. Let me read out the live chat, see if there's anything on here. Antonio scored for Jamaica last night. Yeah, that's a really good shout. Antonio scored for Jamaica earlier. Yeah, I'm just talking about Antonio in the Premier League, but that's a good point, yeah. Don't bench Hwang. I mean, that game could be interesting. West Ham tend to get the better of Wolves. At least last season, they smacked them 4-0, and I think they even beat them 3-2, if I'm not mistaken, at the Molineux. But West Ham, I think, are kind of Wolves' kryptonite, and West Ham are just even better this season. But I can see why. If Wolves do score, I think it'll be Jimenez or Hwang. But, I mean, who would you bench for Hwang? Maybe... that's a tough one, actually. Maybe Lamptey if he comes in, but wait, let me just remind myself of who... Oh, apologies for that, Jesus. Who do Brighton play? Yeah, they play Villa. Yeah, I'd probably bench Lamptey, I guess, but then again, Rico Henry's already benched. Yeah, that's a difficult one, but I probably would still... I agree with the benching order, basically. I think that's pretty much fine, but yeah. Jota versus Zaha, I'm seeing someone ask. I prefer Jota, definitely, and if you want Palace cover, it's definitely Gallagher for me. Getting De Gea for Raya, fair enough. I don't trust United enough defensively to do that, but yeah, get Foden instead. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. I'd rather have Foden to cover City attack, like I said before, but if not, he can always get Antonio in for Jesus around game week 16 or 18, and I think long term, that's just a better pick. But yeah, now I'm going to move on to the next team sent in by Marcos Chia. So thank you very much to Marcos Chia for sending in his team. So Sanchez is suspended, of course, and he's got Foster in goal, Cancelo, Rudiger, Trent, Smith Rowe, Rafinha, Foden, Salah, Vardy, Jimenez and Antonio. It's a really good team overall. Semedo, Williams and Allen on the bench. I pretty much agree with the benching order. I don't see Wolves keeping a clean sheet here. So even though Smith Rowe is facing Liverpool, I agree. Let me just get up the messages, see if there's anything here. So He says, this is my bust team for Game Week 12. I have 2 free transfers for Game Week 12. I'm planning to do one of these 3 sets of moves for free. So move 1, 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. Vardy to Tony and Allen to Jota. Move 2 would be Vardy to Davis and Allen to Son. And move 3 is Vardy to Kane, Jimenez to Hwang. All of them are pretty decent, to be honest. And I can see why you'd want to get Tony and Jota. But I just think Tony's form at the moment, it's very difficult for me to back him. I'm actually tempted by either 2 or 3. One thing I could say about your team, Marcus, is that maybe in terms of squad depth, and maybe this is a problem I had on my wildcard draft in the best wildcard team that I showed you earlier this week, there's not enough squad depth, I think, especially if you're kind of looking towards, for example, the fixture period. So one way to improve your team, actually, is getting Tony and Jota in. It increases your squad value, not your squad value, sorry, their squad depth, and that places you in good stead heading into that Christmas period. But I really like that Son move, or just getting Kane in. Of course, Jota is very promising for the next few game weeks, but when Firmino comes back, it's kind of going to be the same old story with Jota. So I actually would go with either 2 or 3, even though obviously move 1 increases your squad depth overall. But yeah, I'd do one of those moves. I'd probably look to get, if I'm being honest, it's a tough one. I think Kane, the thing is with Kane though, if you get him in, you can then have that placeholder for Ronaldo around game week 15, 16. So I'd actually say move 3 is the best, even though Hwang will probably be a non-option from game week 14 onwards. Although I do like Son a lot. So it's a difficult one. As you can see, I'm a bit conflicted. But in terms of your transfer plans, they're all good. I'd probably go for 2 or 3. I'd be leaning a bit more towards 3, despite the fact that I think Hwang won't really be that good of an option very soon. And in terms of improving your team overall, I think the main thing is squad depth. You could maybe get a Chelsea fullback for Rudiger, and then instead of Rafinha, another move you can get is Gallagher. I wouldn't get rid of Smith Rowe, but Rafinha is someone you could get rid of either now or around game week 16. But other than that, I think the rest is pretty much fine. Jimenez is another one, and especially considering the fact that if you do the move 3 and you do Vardy to Hwang, you're going to have 2 Wolves attackers. I'm not really too sure about that. But Semedo, he's another one you can downgrade to a Livramento, to a Ben White, or to, for example, Lamptey. So those are some moves you can make, and I think Williams is another one. I would rather have a bit more squad depth in your team. Maybe have one bench fodder option like Allen, but the rest is pretty much fine. Let's see what the people are saying here. Exactly, Melvin and Rock and Roll. Like I said before, I'm just talking about the teams on screen first because people did send in their teams, and I'll then go through the live chat later on. But I do encourage you to give your thoughts on these teams as well. And then afterwards, if you have any teams or any suggestions or problems, then you can put them in the live chat and I'll respond very soon. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Marcus Chia's team. Another very good team. And quite a few similarities between all of these. Of course, you could say the template is strong. Aranya's team now. Thank you very much to Aranya for sending it in. So he's got Ramsdale and Foster, Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo, Manquillo, Livramento, Brownhill, Norman, Rafinha, Salah, Foden, Tony, Kane and Antonio. So one thing immediately off the bat that I like is having that double Spurs attack. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? Double Spurs. I saw 2 white shirts and I got excited. Having Harry Kane in there is very good. And I remember, Aranya, you actually said that with Harry Kane, that his hat-trick didn't really you're kind of conflicted about it because more people are going to get on him now. He's probably going to have over 10% ownership. But I think he's a really good move for the next 4. I can see him hauling, to be honest. I know he's been really poor this season, but I can see him hauling. Rafinha's another one. To be honest, the main thing with this team, the problem I'd have is the squad depth because Livramento is obviously a really good option. I don't really count him in this, but Manquillo, Brownhill and Norman, I'd kind of see them as free bench fodder options. You've got an off-form Tony, arguably an off-form Harry Kane, but I think that won't last. Rafinha has some very poor fixtures. The rest of your team, though, looks really good, especially in the long term. I like your defence a lot. But in ways to improve this team, I think ultimately it's the squad depth once again, just like with Marcus Chia's team. I'm not sure how much money you have in the bank. I'll probably check, see if you mentioned it in the messages. But let me just double check this. So you are thinking of, let's see, a -4, willing to pull the trigger early on Spurs assets instead of waiting to see them start scoring points. Yeah, fair enough, Aranya. I mean, to be honest, I still think it's worth a -4, but ultimately, long term, what you want to do is improve your squad depth. Rafinha is someone you could actually downgrade to a Gallagher. That will give you enough money to upgrade maybe Manquillo to a good defender. And then it's fine if you have maybe 2 bench fodder options, even if they're both midfielders. And I would still give Tony a chance, even though obviously he's been so poor. But those are the ways I'd improve your team out. I think the transfers are worth it. and Harry Kane for a -4 even. I'm thinking of it myself, but I think it's a really good move and I like it a lot, to be honest. But yeah, I think improve your squad depth, and if you have any money left over, use it. Get a Conor Gallagher in and then upgrade one of your midfielders or defenders. But very good team as well, Aranya. And then we're going to go through FPL Lasers team. So once again, let's see. I think this has a bit more squad depth. Sissoko and you could say Duffy are kind of the bench fodder options. Steele should play in place of Sanchez, who is suspended. Your defence is pretty much fine, even though Duffy might not be really an option from now on. And if he starts to get benched and you have a free transfer, you could actually just get rid of him. But yeah, in terms of Duffy long term, I think he's kind of the big concern at the back. The rest is absolutely fine. You don't need to change anything unless Livramento is injured. Then I'd probably be looking to actually replace one of those defenders, to be honest. And as for the midfield, it's very solid. I like that Jota Salah double up, especially over the next few. Foden, you've got Harry Kane, Antonio. Yeah, some tough fixtures coming up, but I think you can do really well in game week 12 and also from 16 onwards. In Mbumo and Tony, maybe this is last chance saloon for them. I'm guessing you're probably thinking of pulling the trigger on one of them. And let's actually get your chat up as well, FPL Laser, see if there's any comments that you made that gives context. You could, you're going to be keeping Antonio, and instead of, you could get Wilson instead of Kane, Son instead of Jota, and Reece James instead of Duffy. Ultimately, look, if I'm being completely honest with you, I would actually do that instead. I'd get Wilson, Son, and I'd get Reece James. I think that would improve your team. Even though I like Jota and Kane a lot, I think overall your team would be much better. And also think about the Christmas period. Those Chelsea fullbacks will be, I think, subject to rotation. So having just one of them might be a bit risky, especially if someone like Livramento is injured and then you have Duffy who might lose his place. So I think going for those three instead, FPL Laser, would be much better for you. Even though this is also really good if I'm being honest. But I would actually go for Wilson instead of Kane, Son instead of Jota, and then getting Reece James instead of Duffy. I think that is, in my opinion, the best way to go about it. Both good trios though. Thank you very much for sending in your team as well. And then we have Akshay's team. Let me actually read out the live chat a bit, see what people are saying. Yeah, how much money does this team have? I'm not sure. Some people didn't specify how much money they have. I'll probably ask, for that to be specified in future, just to kind of give context or more context to the viewer. Let's see. I think Mankio's not good enough to pick because at the moment Newcastle's in relegation spot. Yeah, either way, he's just a bench fodder option, but I completely agree with you. That's why I see him as just a bench fodder. And going into that Christmas period, you probably want to have at least one or two good options on your bench, which thankfully, at least in my team, I'm pretty happy to, say I have some good squad depth, but let's wait and see. This is Akshay's team. So he's got Ramsdale and Foster in goal. James, Diaz, Cancelo, Trent, Livramento. That's a really solid defence. I don't think any changes are needed there, to be honest. Havertz, Foden, Salah, Smith Rowe, Brownhill, Tony, Vardy, Broca. That's a fantastic team, to be honest. So let's actually get the chat up. Let's see if there's anything. I don't think you did say anything, actually, Akshay. Let me double check this. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, I don't think you said anything. But you've got 2.4 million in the bank. So one thing you could do is actually just get, for example, Harry Kane. You could actually just get him in already. Just thinking about this, though. Other ways to improve, I think Havertz is another one. You could maybe move him on for Son. I think it's either that, Havertz to Son or Vardy to Kane. If I had to pick one, I'd actually do Havertz to Son in your situation. And then maybe later down the line, you could then get Ronaldo in around game week 15 or 16. But your defence is fine. I wouldn't touch it as it is. Maybe in the future, you could start to look at a Conor Gallagher, for example. But I think Son, getting him in, keeping Vardy for that good fixture run is the way to go. Broca, I don't think he's really, well, he's definitely not nailed at the moment. He's just come back from an injury. Armstrong is in good form. So that's a difficult one, but he could just be a good bench fodder option for you. And when he gets into that team and gets some more minutes and starts, I think he's actually looking really good. No problem, Aranya. Thank you very much for sending in your team. Dylan, who's the best budget forward for the long term in your opinion? I'll be honest, looking at it right now, I'm looking at all of them and I'm not really filled with confidence. Wang has poor fixtures from game week 14 onwards. Tony has poor form. Then you look at, for example, Broca. He's not in the team at the moment. Armstrong, he's probably looking like the best budget option, but then again, he could easily lose his spot, after a few bad games. But it's a difficult one. I think they're all good options if they start. But once again, with the fixtures, the form, and other different circumstances, it's difficult to say right now. I'd probably say Armstrong, but that's pretty much on the back of 2 good performances. Son for Havertz, I agree. Yeah, exactly, Oscar. That's what I would do with this team. Even though I do like Kane for Vardy, I think Son in for Havertz is the best way to go. And Son was really good against Leeds last year. So that's the way I'd go as well. I completely agree, to be honest. But that's a good team. Akshay, hopefully you're here. If not, hopefully you watch it back in the live stream. But I think that's the best way to improve your team. Other than that, it's a really solid one. Long term also, I would rather have Gallagher than Smith Rowe. But Smith Rowe isn't really someone I'd get rid of. One other possibility, is maybe downgrading Broca to a 4.5 and then, getting for example, to be honest, you don't even need to do that. You could just get Gallagher in for Brownhill right away. But yeah, I think ultimately Son for Havertz is the best one. No need to overcomplicate that. See how Tony does, and then if he continues to blank, then maybe get rid of him. And now let's look at Chris El Famoso's team. Nice graphics here. So he's got Ramsdale, Cancelo, James, Chilwell, Salah, Smith Rowe again. A lot of people with Smith Rowe, Rafinha and Gallagher. So he's got both Gallagher and Smith Rowe. Ronaldo, Vardy, Antonio, Livramento, Johnson and Douglas Luiz on the bench, and Foster. That's a good team, to be honest. Obviously, Douglas Luiz, it looks like he could be out for several weeks as well. He's normally a mainstay in that Brazil team at the moment, and obviously he can't be called up. I like Ronaldo. I would probably keep him at this point. The fact that you've obviously kept him for this long, very good fixture against Watford. I wouldn't get rid. And from Game Week 15 onwards, fantastic fixtures for several months, really. Vardy, I would actually probably try to keep over the next few games. But then again, I think the main issue with this team, if there is an issue you could say, is having no Spurs coverage. But how would you achieve that? You're not going to get rid of Salah, not Ronaldo ahead of Watford in my opinion. So Vardy might be the kind of sacrificial lamb in your situation. So if you want to get a Son or Kane, it unfortunately has to come down to Vardy. But I think in terms of squad depth right now, you are good to go. So long as Livramento is fit. You've got him and Johnson. I think they're more than enough cover from the bench. Douglas Luiz, when he comes back, is decent. He can get you 1 to 3 points when needed. But yeah, I think that's a good team overall. The main thing I'd say is maybe getting rid of Vardy. You could downgrade him to another striker. Unfortunately, in terms of the strikers, I can't really, say any kind of young striker, budget striker with conviction, and then you can use that money to upgrade a Rafinha to a Heung-min Son. I think that's the best way to go about it. But other than that, I think that's a really solid team. Once again, let me check the chat and see if there was anything that you mentioned to me, Chris El Famoso. Let's see. I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, you didn't say anything, I think, but yeah, that's what I'd probably do. But if not, you could actually just keep it as it is, and then maybe going into the future, Rafinha could start to make way. I don't know how much money you have in the bank, but a Phil Foden or a Jota could be a really good replacement for Rafinha. But other than that, it's a really solid team, and I wouldn't probably change much about it. Rania says, I have 0.7 million left in the bank. I'm aware of the fact my squad depth isn't as good as I'd like it to be ideally, but then again, my first priority right now is to have a strong starting 11. That's fair enough, yeah. I'm just kind of thinking long term, but that's a good point. Obviously, you don't have to have really good squad depth all the time. It's just something probably looking at in a few weeks from now. It's just something to think about. Forson Origi, heard Mane was injured. He did pick up an injury, but apparently he might be fine. He could even play in Senegal's next game. And I definitely suspect him to be available against Arsenal. But obviously, if Mane is out, same with Firmino, then of course Origi at 4.9 million could be the kind of best budget option. Welcome, Akshay. Thank you very much. Foden or Jesus? Definitely Foden for me, KK. James, Cancelo or Chilwell long term? So long as Cancelo can start, continue to start, it's definitely him. I'd probably say Cancelo, but I like the other two as well. I have Trossard and Kane and Wilson. Yeah, Trossard's looking really good at the moment. Kane, obviously poor form, but I think the fixtures are there for him. Wilson over the next 4 as well could be really, really good. Manquillo and Brownhill haven't been in my squad, or have been in my squad since Game Week 1, only because they are so cheap. And I had to get Norman so that I could get Trent in for Rudiger and Kane in for Vardy. Fair enough. Sometimes, obviously, you don't want to be making these kind of transfers for these budget options, so that makes sense, to be honest. So that's Chris's team. Once again, I think getting a Son or a Kane in, maybe using Vardy to kind of facilitate that is the way to go. Thank you very much to Chris for sending in his team. Now we're going to be looking at Stephen Moore. So this is slightly different. Jose Sarr in goal. Been seeing a lot of Ramsdales, of course, Sanchez and Gaeta. But Jose Sarr's in here. Trent, Chilwell, Livramento, Salah, Mbuma, Rafinha, Gallagher, Vardy, Jimenez, Kane. I like that front line, especially over the next few. Then I'd be considering getting rid of Jimenez. And I think Antonio around game week 16 or 18 is the ideal one to go for. Yeah, Tierney I think is also another one. Even if he is fit now, I'd get rid of him. I'd even maybe downgrade him to a Ben White if you're not looking to get Ramsdale in goal. But yeah, ultimately to improve this team, I don't think there needs to be much to be changed. But I think Tierney, moving him on maybe for someone cheaper. I think maybe if you can, maybe squeeze a City defender in there. So maybe Cancelo in for Tierney and just another cheap defender for Duffy. But Duffy's not really a priority right now. I think Cancelo for Tierney would be a really good upgrade. But if not, then maybe just look at a Ben White. If you ever have a spare transfer, maybe Jose Sarr, I'd move him on to either Ramsdale, Gaeta or McCarthy. I'd probably be looking at the first two. You already have Livramento there to cover. So that's what I'd probably do, to be honest. And then Rafinha, when the fixtures turn, he's another one you can move on, maybe to a Smith Rowe when Arsenal's fixtures pick up, or Jared Bowen. I think he could actually be the best replacement for Rafinha, to be honest. And also, when Leeds' fixtures turn for the worse, West Ham's fixtures look really good. And also Jimenez, when the fixtures are really bad for Wolves around game week 14, I would move him on to Antonio. So those are the moves I'd make, Stephen. The rest looks really good, to be honest. And I think you could even keep Jamie Vardy for the foreseeable future. But if you ever need more money to get a Son, a Jota, or someone else you have your eye on, like Foden, or maybe even Cancelo himself, like I mentioned, then Jamie Vardy could be the one you could downgrade. Maybe he could become Antonio, and then maybe Jimenez could become just a budget striker or just a bench fodder option, and then you can increase the amount of money you spend in your defence and midfield. So that's why I'd be looking at your team, Stephen. It's a very good team. Thank you very much for sending it in as well. Now we've got Thomas's team. So a lot of defences really that we're seeing have Trent, have a Chelsea player, especially, Chilwell or James. And he has Cancelo as well, so really like this defence, and Livramento. Manquillo's kind of just there, really. If you ever have a spare transfer, I'd actually get Ben Johnson, despite some poor fixtures for West Ham soon. But obviously, if he can maintain that starting berth, he's just the best option at 4 million in defence. I like that midfield a lot. Obviously, either now or in game week 16, Rafinha could become Bowen once again. Mbeumo as well, he could maybe become Gallagher. That's just another way to improve it. Jimenez, it's a difficult one because really you're only going to be downgrading. Once again, I'm not really too fond of the options around 6 million or under. Obviously, Tony can start to get into form. I think he could do well against Newcastle, but it's just so hard to back him right now. And no Spurs. I think that's the main problem with this team, potentially, just like with my one. So maybe Jamie Vardy could be downgraded, and then you can find money either for Kane. You can maybe just downgrade one of your strikers at to a 4.5 million option, and then get Harry Kane and play two up front. But if not, you can then downgrade Vardy and then upgrade one of your midfielders like Mbeumo or Rafinha. Brownhill's fine just as your kind of bench fodder option, but the rest is really good. Ramsdale obviously facing Liverpool, but I would keep him. I would make a goalkeeper transfer just for that very reason. And Jimenez definitely keep him for the next few. But once again, I think around game week 16 or 18, you could definitely move him on, or even just in game week 14, to be honest. Let's see what people are saying about these teams. How do I send my team? Once again, it's through Twitter and Instagram, but yeah, it's just it won't be able to be shown now on screen. You can actually send in your teams later on in the live chat, and I'll respond. But at the moment, I'm just going through the teams, that are on screen. Start 2: Armstrong, Mbeumo, Tony. Armstrong and Tony, I think. It's a tough one between Mbeumo and Tony, but I'd definitely start Armstrong. Son or Jota? I think Son. I still would prefer him over Jota, to be honest. I want to buy Jota, but I have 1.3 million in the bank. Looking at your team there quickly. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're going to have to make two moves. You're going to have to downgrade maybe a Vardy, maybe to a Gabriel Jesus, potentially, and then use that money to upgrade, let's say, for example, a Gray. I think that would be the best one. Gray is the weak link, I think, in your midfield. See zoom in. I have Jota. Should I sell him to get Son? I wouldn't sell Jota. It's kind of a weird one. If, obviously, I didn't have either, but I had enough money to get Son, I'd go for him, but I wouldn't really be selling Jota. But if that's your only kind of route to a Spurs player, and you really want Son, then go for it. But you don't have to. Or should I sell Vardy to get Kane? Potentially, to be honest. I'd rather, in your situation then, I'd just get Son in for Jota and keep Vardy for the next few games. Yeah, thank you very much, Rock and Roll. Very much appreciated, and that's pretty much the situation. I think I talked about Thomas's team already. I offered some suggestions here as well. Thomas, hopefully you're watching, and if you don't agree, obviously let me know. Same with anyone else whose team has been reviewed. If you don't agree with my kind of feedback, then obviously let me know. Obviously I am open to the discussion as well. Now let's go through Genius Gamers, and we're kind of halfway through these teams as well. But yeah, for anyone who's sending in their teams right now to Twitter or Instagram, they won't obviously now feature magically on the screen because it's not able to. Otherwise, you probably just have to wait 10 minutes or something for me to set everything up. So Genius Gamers team, once again, Ramsdale in goal, Foster, pretty typical there. Double City defense, benching Diaz, that's interesting. But then again, I kind of agree based on the kind of players you're starting. You could arguably actually play Rafinha or Diaz in for Vardy, but at the moment I'm actually starting Vardy over Rafinha myself. But yeah, I like your defense a lot, really. You don't have to make any changes there. I like your midfield, although once again, in Mbumo, he can become Gallagher, Rafinha could become Bowen. I think those are two ways to improve your team. You could even get Bowen in this week, Genius Gamer. As for your attack, it's really good as well. If you want to get a Harry Kane, though, it has to be once again Jamie Vardy making way. He could be downgraded, or if not, you could just make a move to Harry Kane there. But otherwise, it depends on if you want Son or not. But ultimately, Vardy has to be sacrificed at some point, unless you're going to be maybe downgrading one of your defenders, which I probably wouldn't do. I think your defense is really good for the long term. So that's what I would do in your team. Downgrade Vardy potentially, if not, do a move from him to Kane. And to facilitate that, you might have to downgrade someone like Rafinha, for example, to Gallagher. I think that could be a really good move as well. Let's actually check once again if there's any further information that you provided with your team, Genius Gamer. So let's see. Genius Gamer, I can't. Yeah, I thought I had. Yeah, I've seen a few people send on Twitter. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm not able to, obviously put it on screen now. I'll then read it out maybe later on after I've gone through all the questions. But yeah, I didn't see anything from Genius Gamer. Let me know if you're in the chat, Genius Gamer, about further context. But that's what I would do with your team. Thank you very much once again for sending it in. Very much appreciated. And now we've got Super Duper sending in his team. Another one with Jose Sa. And I wouldn't make a transfer yet with him, despite the fact I don't really see a happy ending for him or Wolves against West Ham United. But I think in a few weeks' time, around Game Week 14, if you have a spare free transfer, I would probably be getting rid of him for Ramsdale or Gaeta. I like your defense a lot. It's really good. I would rather have Cancelo or Diaz over Walker. So if you have enough money, that's something I would do. I don't think it's necessarily a sideways move, especially if you go to Cancelo. I like your attack, actually. Armstrong is probably the best budget option right now on current form. Tony, maybe I'd just keep him for a little while longer, and obviously if he continues to blank, then get rid. You have a lot of squad depth, actually. You've got Gallagher, Smith-Rowe, White on the bench. So that's one thing I'll say about your team. You could arguably say too much squad depth, but I think it's really good. Ultimately, if you ever need money, you can downgrade one of these players, even on the bench, and then upgrade someone else. That's something you could do. But you've already got Son, you're in a good position there. Your midfield's looking really good. Ultimately, I don't really think you need to do anything there. But one thing I actually kind of foresee soon is if Armstrong loses his place or Tony just still blanks and just doesn't deliver, you can downgrade one of them to a bench fodder 4.5 million option who's always third, and then gives you fewer selection headaches every week, and you can use that extra money to upgrade someone, and maybe that could be enough money to do Walker to Cancelo, for example, and then you can get Gaeta and Ramsdale for Sarr and Gunn. That's one way to go about it, but ultimately your midfield and defence I wouldn't change much, if not anything really. Tony or Armstrong in a few weeks time you can maybe get rid and then get someone else. So that's what I would do with your team. Super duper. There's a lot of squad depth there. You're in a good position, but maybe just downgrade one of those strikers to a 4.5, and then you can adjust the rest of your team accordingly. But very good team as well. And now we've got NC4M. Double City defense once again. Diaz and Cancelo, I like it a lot. Rudiger, Livramento, no Trent. You've got Christensen there as well. Salah, Grealish, Gallagher, Tony, Jimenez, Kane. Rafinha and Brownhill is also on the bench, same with Foster. So in order to improve this team, I think it's a good team, obviously, very good team. I would still look to get Trent in there if possible. Unfortunately, that would probably require downgrading one of your strikers. And also, maybe Rafinha, you could move him on to Bowen or Smith-Rowe. If you're getting rid of Rafinha for Smith-Rowe, I wouldn't do it this week. I think Rafinha will probably outscore the Arsenal playmaker. Grealish is another one. I would rather have Jota or Foden. If you have to pick one, it's definitely Foden for me. So that's another way to improve your team. And then if you need more money to fund Christensen to Trent, then maybe Jimenez could be that sacrificial lamb around game week 14. But it's all about timing. You don't have to get Trent in right now. He's facing Arsenal, and the fixtures aren't particularly great. But that's what I would do with your team. I'd look to get Trent in there if possible. You're covering 3 of the best teams and defences in the league by doing so. Rafinha, the fixtures are really poor soon, but obviously he's in good form. You don't have to get rid of him now. But yeah, getting a Bowen in there early is obviously a very good move on paper. And yeah, you've got Kane in already. You've got you've got Salah. I would get Foden in for Grealish if you can. You've got Gallagher. So your team is in good shape, especially for the next few. But looking long term, I'd make those sorts of changes, and I think you'll be very good in the long run. Thank you very much to NC4M for sending in his team. We're actually pretty close to the end now already, and then I'll be going through the live chat. Obviously, I'm used to always reading the live chat and going through all your questions. So obviously, apologies if I haven't been able to so far. So this is David Lewis's team. Let me know what you think, obviously, as well. Let me actually read a few comments in the live chat as well. For the long term, I'd like to have a Gallagher or an ESR to ensure good squad depth, but then again, squad depth has never bothered me so much. Yeah, I agree as well, but I think, yeah, Gallagher is just a really good option. In general, he could start most games for you, but you don't have to, when I say squad depth, you don't have to have, for example, 3 really good players on your bench, but 1 or 2 that are decent options, like a Smith Rowe, can come in really handy. Livramento as well. Armstrong or Che Adams? I think Armstrong at this moment in time, but either one of them, Arif, they could easily be, bench for Broca, who obviously was in really good form. In fact, I think good squad depth sometimes cause benching headaches. Yeah, that's true. And ultimately, it's good to have those players, but then again, if they're never really going to get the points for you, I can see what you mean there. Thoughts on having Salah, Foden, Ronaldo and Kane all together? Obviously on paper it looks really good, but I think you're probably going to have to make a lot of sacrifices in other areas. In defence, maybe you're not able to have the Chelsea defenders, Cancelo and Trent, so that's a bit difficult there. Rudiger to Cancelo, Rafinha to Jota this week? That's a great question. I'd probably do Rudiger to Cancelo. Even though Rudiger has a great record against Leicester, he's got a really good record, I mentioned this before, I probably would, I probably would do that. I think long term that's the better move, but obviously Jota, I can see why you'd want to do that. Let's see, so NC4M, let me try get you up as well. NC4M. Oh, I've lost you. I think. Oh, okay. Oh, so you said going to do Region to Rudiger. Let me just get the team back up quickly, and then we'll go through David's. So, going to do Region to Rudiger or Christensen. Then next week, Trent for Diaz and Jota for Grealish for a -4. Or I could do a -4 this week, James or Chilwell, and Region for Rudiger and Christensen. And then next game week, Trent and Jota for Grealish and Diaz. Fair enough. Yeah, I can see why you want to get Region, and ultimately looking back at the Spurs assets, I actually made a comparison between Region and Emerson Real. We don't have enough data yet, but the stats suggest Region is the better asset, and just in general, he got 6 assists last season, and he's probably going to get you more of those attacking contributions. Maybe not goals. He hasn't scored for Spurs yet. I'm still not too sure about him, but I can see why you're going for him. Conte should shore them up a little bit at the back. And then again, Trent for Diaz, I think that makes sense. Even though City have really good fixtures in the long term, I probably will look to do that. And then Jota, for Grealish. If you can afford it though, Foden for me over Jota is definitely the way to go. But yeah, I think I'd go for the first set of transfers you made and get Region in for Rudiger, and actually for Christensen instead. I'd keep Rudiger for now, and then next week I'd do Trent for Diaz and then Jota or Foden for Grealish. That's what I'd do. NC4M. Hopefully you got that. Thank you very much. And once again, to anyone who's sending in messages on Twitter and Instagram, very much appreciated. But that was only for people before the stream started to have their teams, feature on screen. And once I'm gone through all the teams, you can then just put it in the live chat and makes it much simpler. And I'll go through your questions and comments. So David Lewis's team, Ramsdale and Sanchez. Yeah, no need to make a transfer there, I think. And they both rotated pretty well, I'd say. Good defense. You've gotten Region early and Son. This is looking like a really good team as well, actually. There's not much to, I'd say, improve it in the long term. I think one way that I would try to improve it is to get Cancelo in for Rudiger, potentially. And in order to do that, I think Rafinha down to Gallagher is the way to go. But I think let's actually see. Yeah, that would give you enough money. That's what I'll do. Rafinha to Bowen, or to Gallagher, and then I'll do Rudiger to Cancelo. That's what I would do. David Lewis, but it's a really good team, to be honest. I like it a lot. Hwang once again around Game Week 14. The fixtures are really poor, but and obviously Tony's off form. Double Brentford attack isn't really proven to be viable, but I think firstly that's what I would do. I get Cancelo in there. See, yeah, fantastic fixtures. Cancelo's got that attacking potential, and Rafinha can be downgraded to a Gallagher, and ultimately long term I think that's a better pick. Foden, Salah, Son, I like it a lot. See how Brentford do in the next few weeks, and then depending on that you can start making some moves in midfield and attack. So for example, Bowen can come in for Mbumo or Smith Rowe himself, but that's a good team overall. That's why I'd say to do first of all. David Lewis, thank you very much for sending your team, and thank you very much. Let's see, we've got a new member. Let me get the name up. Thank you very much. Atraf, thank you very much for becoming a differential. Very much appreciated, mate, and good to see you here. And feel free to send in your teams for future live streams and videos. And I normally do it in a video format, but this time I've done it in a live stream. A bit chaotic, you could say, but no, I was going to say a Joker quote. All right, so now we've got Hamza Hashmi's team. Apologies for nearly butchering your name. So he's got Gaeta in goal and Foster. Johnson there. You've got a bit of squad depth here once again, so I don't think that's an issue. You've got Son and Kane. Jesus. In terms of a starting 11 for Game Week 12 specifically, it's very good. I agree with how you've ordered it. Maybe I put Hwang ahead of Johnson, but other than that, I think it's pretty much fine. I would even, be tempted to vice captain or captain Son or Kane, but in terms of captaincy, I think Salah's the kind of safe bet to go. In terms of improving this team long term, I think ultimately there's not much I'd change as of now. I think in a few weeks' time, obviously, if Armstrong loses his place, he's someone you could actually get rid of. Maybe Hwang, actually. What I would do potentially is Hwang down to a 4.5 million strike or 4.4, and then you can upgrade a Brownhill to a Smith Rowe or even a Gallagher. That's what I would actually do. Not Gallagher, you already have him. To Bowen. I think, once again, those three names, I keep mentioning them, but I think they're the three best around that price. That is the way to improve this team. I think the rest is fine. You've got a really good defence. I wouldn't change much. Gaeta's a good keeper. That's what I would do. I think the rest is pretty much fine. Double Spurs attack could be a fantastic differential. A lot of people, including myself, don't even have one of them. So that's what I would do with your team. Hamza, really good. Once again, though, Hwang down to a 4.5, 4.4 million option around Game Week 14, I'd say, when the fixtures turn for Wolves. And then that's a perfect opportunity to upgrade Brownhill to one of those midfielders I discussed. Thank you very much for sending in your team. And now we've got Nez99's team. I think he actually provided a bit of context behind his moves as well. So let's try and get it up here. I have 2 free transfers and I'm planning on removing Mbumo and Vardy for Jota and Wilson. Oof, that's a tough one. Both duos are good. I can see why you're thinking about that. But ultimately, I actually would keep Mbumo and Vardy. The reason why, I think Vardy himself could go ballistic after the Chelsea game over the next 4 or 5. You've already got Son. Jota, of course, is a really good punt over the next 3 or 4 fixtures, potentially, or beyond. But that's what I would do in your team. I'd actually keep it as it is for now and then reassess in a few weeks' time. But obviously, I can see why you want to do it. Jota obviously playing up front for Liverpool. Wilson, really good fixtures, reunited with Eddie Howe. So there's no right or wrong there. But personally, I'd actually, hold there. But then again, you do have 2 free transfers, don't you? So you probably want to use one of them. One way to improve this, I think Rafinha to Bowen. You could do it this week even. I think that could actually be on the cards. But yeah, it's a really good teammate. And you can go ahead with those 2 free transfers. They're not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I probably would keep things as they are. Thank you very much to Nez99 for sending in his team. And obviously, like I always say, leave your thoughts in the live chat about these teams, ways to improve. Maybe I missed something in terms of improving it. But either way, Jota and Wilson, of course, is a really nice duo as well. I probably would keep things as they are, though, in that situation, and then maybe move Rafinha to Bowen. So now we've got Jeremy, Joseph, the final team to feature on screen, and then it's all about the live chat. So don't worry, if I haven't answered your questions, I will be doing that very soon. So Jeremy has got Gaeta and Steele, Alexander-Arnold, Rudiger, Chilwell, Matip, Livramento, Sarr, Foden, Salah, Son, Mount, Antonio Hwang, and Archer. Okay, so 1.7 million in the bank. 0 free transfers, damn. Well, maybe some hits are needed, but I think in terms of improving this team, Salah to Gallagher is an easy choice. I think Mount to Bowen, another really good choice. And I think Matip, I just wouldn't have him really. I think an upgrade from him to Cancelo is on the cards. I think you should have enough money to do all of those moves. So I'd definitely look to actually do that instead. Hwang, once again, I think your attack is probably the weakest area of your team, Jeremy. You've got a 4.5 million bench fodder option. You've got Hwang in there. Antonio's good long term. I know he's been blanking a lot. But I think you're a bit light in attack. So that's another way to improve it. But Gallagher and Fassar, definitely. And maybe, yeah, if not Smith Rowe or Bowen in for Mount. And if not, you can just downgrade Mount to a 4.5 million option potentially. And then use that to upgrade Hwang. I think that's what's probably needed in your team. But yeah, get Gallagher and Fassar. Downgrade Mount potentially just to a 4.5 million option. And upgrade Hwang or Archer, and I'd probably be looking at Hwang. And of course, Matip to Cancelo is definitely what I would do. Let me know what you think in the live chat. Who has the best team till now? That's a tough one. I'd have to look at them all again. I'm not too sure, to be honest, because I think every team has its weaknesses and has its strengths. It's difficult. Obviously, some teams have the best depth, but then other teams maybe have the best starting 11 for Game Week 12 specifically, and other teams just have so many sources of points. It's a difficult one. I'm not too sure, to be honest. How does he have the wrong kits? I'm not too sure, to be honest. Probably just I don't know, just an old version. Oh jeez, we've got some machinery going on. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. Should I go for Ward-Prowse or Armstrong? Definitely Armstrong for me, Nigel. That's what I would do. Gaeta or Ramsdale? Still Ramsdale for me, but I do like Gaeta a lot. In terms of, ranking the kind of best budget options, it's Ramsdale first, Gaeta second, McCarthy third. Why Sabro? I mean, yeah, like I said before, I probably would downgrade Sarr to a Gallagher. It's not even a downgrade, really. I'm just saying in terms of money. But yeah, that's definitely one way to improve. But yeah, I've already offered my suggestions for Jeremy's team. It is a good team, but I think the attack is a bit light, and I would definitely be looking to find money from the midfield, upgrade Matip to Cancelo, and then what we would do, get Gallagher in for Sarr. I think you'll be in good position after that. But once again, 0 free transfers. So a few hits, or if not, a bit of patience waiting for the next few deadlines to pass to then make these moves is pretty much what you have to do, I think, Jeremy. Thank you very much to everyone who's been sending in their teams. I'm now just going to be showing you my usual boring team, to be honest, but thank you very much to everyone. This is my team now. Let's rate it. It's awful, isn't it? Yeah, it is pretty awful. Now I'm just going to be going for the live chat, so leave your kind of comments, your teams and everything down there, and I'll try to answer as many as possible. Eternal says Aranya's was the best. Fair enough. I think Aranya will be pretty pleased with that. Yeah, I mean, his was a really good team as well, to be honest. It was a fantastic team. Would you take a -4 for a goalkeeper? I have Sanchez. Hibbs, do you have Foster or Steele by any chance? If you do, I just stick them into the starting 11. Otherwise, to be honest though, I mean, just looking at it logically, goalkeepers aren't really going to pay off that -4. Maybe in the long run, a Ramsdale or a Gaeta will outscore Sanchez by 4 points, including this fixture, but I don't really think it's worth it, at least for one game week. If you do decide to take a hit, I'd just get Ramsdale or Gaeta. Obviously, it's a bit of a weird time to get Ramsdale in. What should I do for next game week when I have a free transfer? I have Cancelo, James, Rudiger, Trent, Gallagher, Smith Rowe, Foden, Salah, Hwang, Tony, Ronaldo, Foster, Sanchez, and Martin Brownhill. One free transfer. Okay, so Cancelo, James, Rudiger, you're in good shape there with the defence. Your goalkeeper, I'm guessing, is also fine. Gallagher, Smith Rowe, Foden, Salah. One free transfer. I mean, one option is to actually save it and then have 2 free transfers going into next week, Corey. But if not, it's a tough one, actually. I don't think you need to change anything this week, potentially. Maybe, you've got Sanchez on the bench, don't you? And you've got Foster. Yeah, you can just start Foster, obviously, and just keep Sanchez. If not, Sanchez to Gaeta or Ramsdale. I'd go for Ramsdale, personally. And if not, Amati to Johnson, or let's look at your defence again. Maybe Livramento. I think that's a way to improve it. If you have enough money, of course. And let's wait and see if Livramento is fit. Son or Foden? I think looking at the fixtures, it has to be Son. But I like Foden a lot, to be honest. Gabriel says, first 11, Steele, Chilwell, Rudiger, Livramento, Salah, Foden, and Mbumo, Havertz, Pukki, Kane, and Tony, Sanchez, Shaw, Veltman, Gilmore. 2.9 million in the bank. Kai to Son this week. Wilson and Joao for Tony and Rudiger. Yeah, that looks really good, Gabriel. To be honest, that's exactly what I would do in your situation. Getting Cancelo in there and wildcarding it in Game Week 16. That's one of the latest wildcards I've seen so far. That could be actually really good. So yeah, I think your transfer plans are perfectly fine and it addresses the kind of weaknesses you have in your squad. And if not, it just makes your strengths even better. I would do exactly the same, Gabriel John. Rate my team: Salah, Ward, Trent, Cancelo, Semedo, Livramento, Brandon Williams, Foden, Salah, Rafinha, Brownhill, and Mbumo, Kane, Antonio, and Jimenez. 0 in the bank, 1 free transfer. I like the team. Obviously, Salah is someone I'd be a bit concerned about. Having him and Semedo, definitely I'd get rid of one of them for sure. Once again, Gaeta or Ramsdale in for Salah for sure. And for Semedo, I'd look to either downgrade him or, because you don't have a Chelsea defender, I'd definitely look to upgrade Semedo to a James or a Chilwell. Chilwell being my preference, by the way. But I do like James a lot. Brandon Williams could become Johnson. Other than that, I think the rest is fine for the time being. But Rafinha and Jimenez, when the fixtures turn, once again, Bowen, Gallagher, they can come in for Rafinha. And for Jimenez, I'd probably be looking to either downgrade it, maybe to just a 4.5 million option. Should I sell Maupay for Wilson for a hit? I probably would, actually, yeah. I'm not really too keen on hits, but I probably would. Boring team with unconventional 5 at the back. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, that's pretty much true, to be honest. It is pretty boring, isn't it? I am thinking of, though, potentially benching Vardy or one of my defenders for Rafinha. And if not, if I do get Gallagher in this week for Townsend, he will come into the starting 11 for sure. Thank you very much, Rock and Roll, for moderating the chat. Which 3 should I play from Rafinha, Mbumo, Tony, Vardy, and Rudiger, says Jack Smith. Great question. I would play Tony. Famous last words. Oh, that's tough. That is really tough. I would play Vardy, Tony, and Rafinha, I think. But then again, if you had a Chelsea fullback, I'd actually play him over Vardy. Yeah, thank you very much, Rock and Roll. Eternal says Ramsdale, Trent, Cancelo, Chilwell, Livramento, Jota, Son, Salah, Hudson-Odoi, Antonio, Tony, Hwang, Norman, White on the bench. 3.3 million in the bank for Ronaldo upgrade, or make Odoi to Foden. And if not, White to Region. All good moves there, Eternal. It's a good team as well. I would probably be looking towards Odoi to Foden. I think that's the best one. I think that is the best move you can make right now. And in terms of other ways to improve it, I think that's fine. Obviously, if Tony continues to blank, then he's another one you can ship out. And then maybe in a few weeks' time, we'll have a better idea of who the best budget option is. But other than that, I think that's probably what I would do so far and then reassess. I'm not too sure about Hwang long term, especially with the fixtures. Same with Tony. Hudson-Odoi, of course, and that's why I think the move to Foden is the best course of action for you. Your defense is good, so that's what I would do, Eternal. Thank you, Gabriel John. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Corey. I'll try to get Johnson for Marty next week. Yeah, either way, there's no rush to do that because Johnson has poor fixtures anyway, and he's just kind of a safety net. So if not, you could maybe just get him in a few weeks' time and ahead of those really good fixtures for 16 or 18. And even by then, maybe Sufal has reclaimed his place. But thank you very much. And thank you, Athraf, for becoming a member and for sending in your team. Ramsdale, Gillespie, Tierney, Trent, Rudiger, Chilwell, Andrew, Salah, Foden, Rafinha, Mbumo, Sissoko, Tony, Antonio, Vardy. 1.8 million in the bank, 1 free transfer. Good team. I think Tierney, once again, he kind of strikes me as, you know, the player to get rid of. You've already got Ramsdale anyway. You've got Chilwell, Rudiger, and Trent. I think Tierney to Cancelo is definitely the one I'd go for, Athraf. Other than that, Johnson or Livramento in for Omar Bamidele. I probably butchered that. And who else? I think Rafinha in a few weeks' time, he could become Bowen around Game Week 16. And if not, you could actually get Gallagher in there. And if not, you know, Bowen for Rafinha and Gallagher in for Mbumo. That's 2 upgrades there already. And maybe the kind of concern here is not having a Spurs asset or a route to Cristiano Ronaldo. So maybe Vardy to Ronaldo would be the one to go for, but I think getting Cancelo in first and then upgrading the rest is the way to go, I think, Athraf. Thank you very much for sending in your team. Hey Dylan, I'll probably go Vardy to Antonio and Christensen to Chile when the West Ham fixtures turn. Yeah, I think that's a good, you know, set of moves, Ninja. And obviously I talked about your team earlier in the stream, and I think it's very good, and I probably would do something similar, to be honest. Yeah, I think Vardy to Antonio, especially around Game Week 16 or 18, is the way to go. You could even do it now, actually, despite the fact West Ham have some poor fixtures. Yeah, in terms of so this is a question asked by, let me try to get up again, Kostav. Yeah, in terms of sending in teams so they feature in the video, that would just probably be for future videos or live streams. I'll let you know when that's the case. But in terms of if you want your team rated now, send it in the live chat through text and I will get back to you. When do you start betting against Salah? That's a great question, Yogesh. I mean, I think as soon as you see a drop off in form and underlying stats, I think that's when you back against them slightly. But that's not to say I'd get rid of him. It's just in terms of the captaincy, that's when I'd maybe not just have him permanent captain. No problem, Eternal. Thank you very much for responding, and thank you, Rock and Roll. I can't decide to go Son or Jota or Gallagher. Or is it better to change attack to Kane? I mean, they're all good options, mate. I probably would look to get Son in your case, but if not, if you can afford to get Kane and Gallagher, maybe that's the way to go, Will Coatman. Aranya says, my rank was 1 million in Game Week 6, and since then I've had 5 green arrows, getting ranks in the ranges of 700, 500, 300, 200k, and finally 180k. Yeah, that's the thing. Consistency is key, and your team is looking really good, so I'm not surprised that you've gotten 5 consecutive green arrows, to be honest. I believe a lot of it has got to do with not thinking too far ahead and backing one's gut. Yeah, that's true, because some of the suggestions I made for your team maybe arguably are too fixated on the long term. But yeah, I think you have to find that balance, looking at the immediate short term, but striking a balance with looking for the next 10 to 15 game weeks as well. Vardy to Kane after having the blast last night for England. To be fair though, he did score a hat-trick in the Conference League, and then in the Premier League he just went back to being very poor and lackluster. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, is Kane going to face Albania in the Premier League? No, he isn't. But then again, he's facing 4 of the worst, teams defensively in the league, and he did do really well against Newcastle. So something similar could happen. I think he will start to deliver. But to be honest, Parthan, I mean, I think it's a good move, but keeping Vardy is also a good move because after Chelsea, fantastic fixtures for him, including Watford, and I think Leicester could actually start to get a bit of form there. Take a hit for Aspilicueta out to Reece James. I would do that, Hibbs. I'd definitely do that. I feel we make the best decisions when our only competition is with ourselves. That's true, yeah, because if you look too much at what other people are doing around you start to, go against your own decision making and your gut feeling. So I actually agree with that. John K says Sanchez, Steele, Trent, Rudiger, Livramento, Cancelo, Tsimikas, Salah, Mount, Rafinha, Gallagher, Mbumo, Kane, Antonio Perica. Thank you very much, John K. I like your goalkeepers are fine for now. Obviously, Sanchez is suspended, but still should cover. Otherwise, it's kind of unlucky for you, to be honest. Trent, Rudiger, Livramento, Cancelo. Yeah, I like that. Tsimikas is the one I'd move on to. Maybe Ben Johnson or a Ben White, because you don't have Arsenal cover in defence. You don't have to, though, especially ahead of Liverpool. But that's what I'd be looking towards. Salah, Mount, Rafinha, Gallagher, and Mbumo. I think Mount, you could maybe downgrade him. You could either downgrade him to a bench fodder option and then upgrade Perica, or do Mount to Jarrod Bowen, and then Rafinha could become Smith Rowe in a few weeks' time, and I think you're kind of set to go there. But that's what I would do with your team, John. I would maybe make a goalkeeper transfer, but if not, keep it as it is. Get him White, Ben Johnson, or another, maybe a Lamptey, for example, for Tsimikas, but to be fair, you do have the Brighton goalkeepers already. Mount, you could either downgrade to a 4.5 million bench fodder option, or, personally, I would go to Jarrod Bowen. Rafinha could become Smith Rowe in a few weeks, and yeah, that's what I do with your team. Perica is just kind of your bench fodder, so I agree with that. Kobe says thoughts on doing Raya to Gaeta for a free transfer. Yeah, I'd do it. If you have one to spare, I'd definitely do that, mate. Is there any standout forwards under 7.5 million? Honestly, at the moment, based on the last few game weeks, it has to be Armstrong, but do I think that's going to continue in the long term? I'm not too sure, to be honest. So at the moment, I'd say Armstrong, but I think in a few weeks' time, I'd change my mind. Maybe Tony if he gets into some form. But I think Wilson would be the one I'd say garlic bread. I think he's the one I'd probably point towards. Eddie Cassie says, rate my team: Sarr, Cancelo, Diaz, Chilwell, Salah, Rafinha, Foden, Gallagher, Vardy, Tony, Antonio, Livramento, White, and Mbumo. 0 free transfers. Do I need to take a hit, or is Foden a captain this week? You don't have to take a hit, because if you get a hit for Foden and then you captain him and then Salah goes ballistic, obviously it might be a really poor week for you. But obviously, the kind of opposite could happen and you actually do really well from that move. But I think I don't think you need to take a hit, to be honest. And would you captain Foden? Oh yeah, you already have Foden. I think it's a decent one. I actually mentioned him before when I do the preview, for example, and I talked about the best captaincy options. He might even feature in the top 5. Personally, I think that's good. You don't have to make a hit now, but in a few weeks' time, I think Jose Sa is someone to get rid of, and then make a long-term goalkeeper transfer. Ramsdale, Gaeta, take your pick there. McCarthy's also a good one, but you do have Livramento, so definitely the first 2 for me. Yeah, I like your team overall. I think finding ways to improve Rafinha to Bowen is another one, but you don't have to take it this week. I think Rafinha could actually do alright against Spurs, so that's a good team, Eddie. But once again, the same kind of suggestions I give to others as well. Yeah, thank you very much, Rock and Roll. And same with all the kind of moderators in there. Feel free to put anyone on timeout if they do spam the chat too much. Spam? I think I just butchered that, didn't I? I'm not even going to repeat that. Kane and Gallagher or Son and Wilson? Great question, Stephen. That's a really good question. I think they're both exceptional duos. I like Gallagher a lot long term, but I think Son and Wilson over the next 4 could do really well for you. Oh, that is a tough one. That is... Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God almighty. I still go Kane and Gallagher, and then Kane can be that kind of placeholder for Ronaldo, but I like Son and Wilson so much. Believe me. Please help, guys. Vardy, Chelsea or Smith Rowe, Liverpool first sub. I would go for Vardy, Sam. What do you think about this wildcard, says Ori. I haven't seen it, mate. Put it in the live chat and then I'll answer you there. People are preferring Kane over Son. If Kane is back in form, it is inevitable that they'll assist each other. Yeah, I mean, they're both really good options. I think Son offers better value for money. The thing with Kane, though, is he's a great placeholder for Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh, thank you very much, Riyadh. Very much appreciated for your kind words. Play in Mbumo or Livramento? Yeah, I play... Honestly, Livramento, but obviously if he is injured, then yeah, it's kind of an easy decision there. Thank you, Turkish. Hi, Dylan. My team is Mendy, Cancelo, Trent, Reece, Salah, Gallagher, Foden, Cornet, Rashford, Antonio, Tony. Thoughts? I mean, the first thing that strikes me is that your team is probably the most unique that I've seen today. I like it a lot. I like the Cornet one. He's another one I haven't mentioned actually today. So in terms of Rafinha replacements, he's a very good one. Along with Bowen, Smith Rowe, Gallagher, etc. Your midfield's looking really good, to be honest. Rashford, I'll be honest, I'm not really a big fan. I would look to get Son in for Rashford if you can. And maybe that would require a downgrade from Mendy to a Ramsdale or Gaeta, potentially, but you don't have to. I like your attack for now, but obviously if Tony continues to blank, that is a problem. But yeah, your defence is very good. Cancelo, Trent, Reece. I'm guessing you have a Livramento or someone decent on the bench too. And if you do, then fair enough. I wouldn't change much in your defence. But ultimately, I think Rashford to Son, if you can afford it, and maybe downgrading Mendy to one of those keepers I discussed, is the way to go, Turkish. Who will score more points next 5 game weeks, Jota or Trent? I think Trent still, but that's a good question, Sam. I wish I could, tell for sure. I'm just kind of basing off my gut feeling there. Son or Jota? Still Son for me. I think long term he's just a better pick and he's just more consistent. Captain Salah or Kane? I'd be tempted, very tempted by Kane or Son, but I probably would still go for Salah at this moment in time. I'm going to be looking at more stats and doing more research before doing the preview. And obviously, another thing, after this live chat or live stream ends, let me know down in the comment section what kind of topics you want to see feature in the preview. It could also include some questions that you want answered in video format. Thoughts on Vardy, Jimenez, Duffy out for Kane, Hwang and James? I actually think those are good moves long term. Hwang is the one I'm not too sure about, but I can see why you're doing it, and you cover Wolves for the next few game weeks. I would still rather have Jimenez over Hwang at this moment in time, but overall, I think that could be worth it, especially that Duffy to James upgrade. That's really good, Fletchy. Vardy to Kane, that is going to be very difficult because I think over the next 5 they score similarly. I think Kane will vastly outperform Vardy potentially this week in game week 12, but in the next few, not really a guarantee. And by the way, if anyone's watching F1, let me know if there's any updates on the Hamilton and Verstappen situation. Thoughts on Lamptey, played left wing last game basically. That's a good point. Honestly, I don't expect Lamptey to continue to play that advanced, to be honest. But he did play in such an advanced position there. Do I expect that to continue? Like I said, not really. But I think he is a good option regardless. He always gets further forward. And I think at one point last season, he was winning penalties, getting assists and doing really well. But conversely, Brighton weren't keeping too many clean sheets with him in the side. But I think he is a good option. And I actually recommended him earlier to some people. Him, Ben White, Livramento, they're the best around, that kind of cheap price. Start Hwang or Livramento. Definitely Livramento for me, Geordie. Is Ronaldo from Gameweek 16 actually worth it? Oh, I just lost the chat. Yeah. Given Man United is playing so badly with Oli at the wheel. Well, that's the thing, though. I think it could change in a few weeks' time, and Ronaldo's still doing really well. I talked about him recently. I think he's got 4 goals and 1 assist in 8 appearances. And obviously, it's Ronaldo in the Champions League. He's been doing really well. This season, I think, he's got 14 goals in 15 games. There's no sign of decline for the guy. He's one of the best players of all time. He's a great goal scorer. Absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, I still think it's worth it. Look at the fixtures for like the next 15, 20 game weeks from that period on. It's just fantastic, to be honest. Benrahma to Jota or Son? Son for me. Who's the best to replace Hwang? Honestly, probably Armstrong at this moment in time, but will that be a thing long term? Maybe not. And honestly, the reason why I haven't really been suggesting too many forwards is because look at Southampton, for example. Very tough fixtures coming up as well. So it's not really an ideal time to get in on an Armstrong or Broca or a Che Adams. Wildcard activator, says Ahmed. Wow. And if you haven't already, check out my wildcard video, best wildcard team. And obviously, if you do disagree with some things, which I can understand why, I think there's not really too much squad depth there, then let me know. I was thinking of doing Mount to Foden and Rudiger to James for a -4. Honestly, John K, I probably would. If not, you could just do Mount to Foden if you can afford it already, which you should be able to, and then do Rudiger to James next week for free. Diaz to James or wait? I think long term, City will keep more clean sheets over the next 10 to 15. Better fixtures, but James just has that amazing ceiling. So honestly, maybe keep this week and then next week do it. Let me actually double check for you. Let me see the fixtures next week for Chelsea and City. So City face West Ham and Chelsea face United. Ooh, not really easy for either team. I probably would do it this week, but Diaz, I think City are more likely to keep a clean sheet in Game Week 12 than Chelsea. Max only got a fine. Oh, really? What about Hamilton, though? Oh, well. Yeah, there's just so much drama. They do it on purpose. They just want to, get that money, keep people engaged. Diaz to Cancelo and Saint-Maximin to Hwang. Yeah, once again, though, with Hwang, good for the next 3, but not so much afterwards, to be honest. But I think Diaz to Cancelo is actually worth it. I don't think it's a sideways move. I was thinking of doing Mount to Foden and Rudiger. Oh, yes, I read that already. My bad. Shall I do Son right now? I just lost it. Jesus, my bad. Jesus. Yeah, Osborne plays FIFA. Should I do Son right now or wait until he gets injured or anything? I saw the word invade. Oh, in case, yeah. I'd wait just in case. Especially if you're not going to be priced out, just wait. It might be worth it, even if you do lose 0.1, 0.2 million in value, mate. Let's see. Hey Dylan, can you rate my team? I'm sending my team now. Send it in through the live chat. Just much better. Through text if you can. Because otherwise I have to, scroll through Twitter and stuff. Apologies, mate. Shaw, Livramento, Pookie, bench 1, please. Great question. Maybe Pookie, to be honest. But then again, he has been showing a bit of form recently, at least against Brentford. But yeah, I probably would bench him. Sanchez, James, Chilwell, Rudiger, Diaz, Foden, Salah, Son, Smith Rowe, Rafinha, Vardy, and Tony. Who should I replace with? I was thinking about Cornet instead of Rafinha. Yeah, I like those moves. Even though, once again, you can just keep Vardy for the next few. I think he could do extremely well after Chelsea and even against the Blues. He has a decent record against them and against top 6 opposition in general. Other ways to improve this, I think instead of Cornet, you could get Gallagher or Jared Bowen once again. I think they could be good moves too for you. I think your defence is fine. Looking at it now quickly, you do have triple Chelsea defence. So what I would do in your situation is maybe move Diaz to Cancelo and downgrade Rudiger potentially to a Reguilon or to a cheaper defender like a Ben White or, for example, let's see, Lamptey, one of these kind of cheap defenders, or Johnson even, and that can give you enough money to make the other moves you want to make in midfield. Gray to Jota and Albert to Wilson, owned by M. Yeah, I think that's pretty much fine if you can afford to get Foden instead of Jota, but I like that Wilson move a lot. Foden or Son. Foden allows me to go for James and Cancelo in defence. In that case, I probably would go for Foden, but then again, it depends on what your other defenders are as well. You probably have Trent and maybe another defender that's really good. But yeah, David, I would probably do Foden then in that case. But I do like Son a lot. Bench 1, Jesus or Smith Rowe? Smith Rowe for me, to be honest. Alonso fastest in FP2. What? No way. Wow, that guy is such a good driver, man. Seriously, no way. Apologies, I'm trying to get through the chat stuff that I missed. So Faith says, do I do Sarr to Gaeta Ramsdale now or Vardy to Kane? Great question. I would do... I think... I like Vardy a lot, and once again, I keep talking about him. I think he's actually worth a hold. But I would do Vardy to Kane in your situation, and then around Game Week 14, do Sarr to Ramsdale, in my opinion. But Gaeta's also very good. Hopefully you got that. Garlic bread, I think you put your team already, but yeah, just in case. Ramsdale, Foster, Trent, Cancelo, Tierney, Livramento, Salah, Havertz, Mbumo, Douglas Luiz, Rafinha, Antonio, Vardy, Jimenez. 2 free transfers, thinking to do Vardy to Edouard, Tony, and Mbumo, Rafinha to Jota. It's a difficult one with the forwards because Edouard, in and out of the team, sometimes plays on the left wing, and to be honest, with Palace, I'd rather cover them with Gallagher. Tony, obviously, he's a good option. But, well, at least on paper, but he's just not delivering at the moment. I do like those midfield transfers. Mbumo, Rafinha to Jota, I like that a lot. Other things I would consider, Havertz to Son. I would definitely look to do that if you can. Vardy could become, let's see. Vardy to Edouard, Tony. I'd actually say Wilson, actually, instead of Edouard or Tony. I'd actually do Vardy to Wilson. Whoa, Jesus, excuse me, I need a water. Oh, God. Jesus. And then, yeah, I'd use that money to upgrade Havertz to Son. And, yeah, Tierney, I think he's the other kind of weak link in your team. Trent, Cancelo, Livramento. Yeah, Tierney, if you can, to a James or a Chilwell. Who to captain besides Salah this week? Kane or Son? I think Foden or Cancelo. And other than that, let me actually have a quick look at the fixtures once again. Those are pretty much the main ones I'd be looking at because, yeah, I wouldn't captain another City option against Everton. Jesus could be decent, nice differential, but I'm not too sure. West Ham, maybe. Antonio or Bowen, but not too sure. I think Ronaldo, obviously, is the kind of main one outside the ones I mentioned against Watford. So, yeah, ultimately, Ronaldo, Foden, Cancelo, Kane, Son. They're the main ones I'd be looking at. The rest, like Armstrong against Norwich, could be really good, but not as a captain for me. Let's see. Great stream, subscribe. Thank you very much, mate. Mahmood, thank you very much. Rafinha or Smith Rowe? For this week, Rafinha. But overall, I think long term, Smith Rowe might be the better pick. But Rafinha, definitely this week. Animation says, hey, mate, I messaged you on Twitter before about doing Vardy out for Kane or Mbumo and Vardy out for Son and Tony. Yeah, Thomas, aren't you? I did talk about your team earlier on. And I think I did suggest something similar, if I'm not mistaken. To be fair, I did make a few suggestions, so I probably lost track. Yeah. To be honest, you could actually keep Vardy, but yeah, I think that's actually worth it. I would probably do that, mate. I would actually do that. Animations. Hello, gentlemen and ladies. Dylan is focusing mainly on the stream, rating yours, but mainly the ones that were already sent in. Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, I have now gone through the 15 teams on screen, so now I'm trying my best to catch up on the live chat. If you could pick one of Jota or Foden, for me, Foden still. I like Jota a lot, especially playing up front, but Foden for me. I think he could actually... He's been very unlucky in the last 2 game weeks, and maybe a good thing. Some people have kind of, not been too keen on him because of those, blanks, but I think he's a really good option. So Y Seng says, Foster, Sanchez, Chilwell, James, Trent, Cancelo, Livramento, Rafinha, Son, Salah, Havertz, Jones, Tony, Antonio, Broca, 0.5 million in the bank, and 2 transfers available. That's a good position to be in. Yeah, you could start Foster this week, but if not, you can make a goalkeeper transfer, Sanchez to Ramsdale, Gaeta. Your defense is very good. No need to change that, mate. Ooh. Yeah, you got Son in already. I think Rafinha, I look to move him on to Gallagher potentially. Maybe even Havertz as well. So Havertz and Rafinha down to Gallagher and Bowen. That's what I'd probably be looking at. And you could either upgrade Jones or Broca. And maybe Broca could become Wilson, or Tony could become Wilson. And if not, maybe Jones could become a Smith Rowe or someone else. You could even arguably keep Rafinha and then make those other transfers I said, Smith Rowe and Gallagher. in there for Havertz, for example. But yeah, that's what I'd be looking to do with your team. It's a very good team overall, Weisseng. Hopefully you got that. And yeah, it's a good team overall, mate. Hospa says, Gaeta, Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, Livramento, Foden, Salah, Gallagher, Antonio, Tony, Kane. Bench in order, Steer, Mbumo, Janssen, Allen. I'd be still a bit concerned about benching Mbumo, but I can get why you're doing it. And it's a good team overall, to be honest. In terms of ways to improve it, honestly, I just think if Tony continues to blank and show poor form, I think he's the one to maybe get rid of. Maybe get a Wilson in there, for example. Janssen, I think despite the fact Brentford have good fixtures, I just think if you don't see an improvement there in Brentford, I probably would be looking to offload him. And Mbumo's another one. You could maybe move him on to Smith Rowe, Bowen, etc. And Janssen can become, let's say, a Ben White, for example, or a Lamptey. Why says plan to do Jota and Gallagher for Havertz and Jones? Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, I didn't mention Jota there, but I think that's actually spot on, to be honest. You could actually do that instead and then do the other transfers I suggested. Tony, Son and James, or Kane, Hwang and James? Probably Tony, Son and James, but really it's just a case of Tony and Hwang, and I'm not really confident in either of them because Tony has the better fixtures. I'll probably go for him. Hamilton starting last in the sprint. Says Athraf. Oh yeah, thank you very much for that update. Oh, that's interesting. So he was found guilty, right? Or Mercedes were found guilty. I don't really blame Hamilton for that. Son injured. What? Surely not. Son injured on international duty. The early Son moves backfiring. Damn. I mean, he's always kind of like a Dow, isn't he, during international break? How do you feel about Gallagher? The same as before. I think he's a really good option, mate, long term. Him, Smith Rowe, even Jarrod Bowen around that 5.5, 6.5 million price. They're the best ones at the moment. And I think Gallagher just has the good fixtures. Maybe a bit mixed recently, but I think they're good. Vardy, Tsimikas, Tierney, Mount, or Edouard, Reguilon, Trent, Son. I guess I'd say Edouard, Reguilon, Trent, Son, but I'm not too keen on Edouard, to be honest. I do like the other three, though. Young boy stunner. If Son is injured, I saw a tweet reporting it just now. Would you do Kai to Jota instead of Son, or Tony to Wilson, or Shaw to Cancelo for free this week? Great question, Gabriel John. Great question. I probably would do Kai to Jota in your situation and, not go for Son. Let's wait and see. Obviously, we don't have enough information yet. But yeah, I think that's what I would do. Oh, Shaw to Cancelo. Now, yeah, scratch that, Gabriel. Do Shaw to Cancelo and then maybe do, Kai Havertz to Jota and then get Wilson in. But then again, by the time you probably get Wilson in, the fixtures are going to be poor for Newcastle. So yeah, definitely get Cancelo in. My overall is 127. Wow, that's a fantastic rank. Oh my god, that's brilliant, mate. And appreciate the goodwill. Okay, my bad, mate. I'll go back in the stream. You legend, mate. Oh yeah, you're Thomas. Yeah, that was basically the opening part of this stream. I was going through the 15 teams, and then afterwards I started going for the live chat. Yeah, everyone's saying Son injured. People were mentioning Kane. The early Son moves backfiring. When will you be doing your next live stream? Probably next Friday. But it won't be a rate my team, I believe. Obviously, you can still, ask questions and do I get this player, or sending in your teams, but it won't be that focused on it. So I won't be spending the whole time reading through teams. Gaeta, James, Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo, Walker, Salah, Foden, Son, Mbumo, Norman, Antonio, Jimenez, Hwang, says RJ Moon. Your defense is good, but it's a lot of money invested there. I would probably downgrade Walker to a Livramento, or just another cheap option like Ben Johnson, Ben White, Lamptey, the same names as before. The rest is good. I like your midfield a lot. Norman's a decent bench fodder option. Instead of Jimenez, in a few weeks' time, you can get Antonio ahead of Gameweek 16 or 18. Instead of Hwang, maybe Wilson with that money by downgrading Walker. And the rest, I'd probably keep RJ Moon. Ben White or Lamptey for next week. I think Ben White will keep more clean sheets than Lamptey and Brighton, but I think Lamptey will just get more attack and return. So it's a difficult one. If you already have Ramsdale, then I go for Lamptey, but vice versa. If you have Sanchez or Brighton defensive cover already, then I go for Ben White. Who's the best 4.5 million midfielder? Honestly, I wouldn't really think about it too much, but I guess Norman. There's not really too many options, to be honest. I mean, I just think Norman obviously did score. He's not going to do that every week. Just a little spoiler alert. Let's actually check the options now. But yeah, I'm not really too too keen on these options. Let's go to midfielders. Oh, thank you. All right. Yeah, obviously McCarthy's the highest scoring midfielder, around 4.5 million or under. That's a surprise. Isaac Hayden, he did score, didn't he? But yeah, ultimately it's Basuma, Norman, Brownhill, MacArthur, I guess. Those are the kind of options I'd be looking at. But other than that, I wouldn't really be thinking about it too much, to be honest. Yeah, those are the options I talk about, but they're not really someone you'd think about too much. Just someone who starts most weeks. Yeah, I think Norman should continue to start for Norwich, but ultimately, let's see what the new manager says. It could be Dean Smith, it looks like, but let's wait and see. Best 8.5 million attacker, great question. At the moment, I think Wilson. He's the best kind of 7.3, around that price, definitely. Breaking, Son Heung-min has sustained a minor knock whilst on duty with South Korea. He didn't train today whilst they monitor his injury. It could be a case of him just being called back early for Spurs and, he's going to be fine against Leeds, to be honest. But obviously it is concerning, especially if you already just got him in, to be honest. Yeah, minor knock on Son. When does F1 start? It's just FB2. I think it just finished as well as the stream has gone on. I think the sprint race is at 7:30 PM UK time, and the race tomorrow is at 5 PM. Havertz to Gallagher. Yeah, I would do that Chintan, to be honest. I just think you don't have to do it this week, but I just think Gallagher's worth it long term. Would you do Mbuma to Smith Rowe next week if Mbuma continues to blank? Potentially. Obviously, Kobe, if you don't have Gallagher already, I'd rather go for him over Smith Rowe, but yeah, I'd be considering it. But Arsenal's fixtures are mixed. Arsenal face Everton, United very soon. So, but yeah, Newcastle at home is a good fixture, isn't it? For 7 million, who should I replace Edouard for? I would say Wilson, but he's slightly above your price range, young boy stunner. If you can afford him, go for Wilson. But otherwise, maybe a Tony. But yeah, it's a difficult one. Rafinha to Bowen. Yeah, definitely. Vivian, I've been talking about this all day, really. Anyone, having Rafinha, getting Bowen, Smith Rowe, Gallagher, all these options for him. Thank you, will do. Thank you very much, RJ Moon. Very much appreciated. Aranya says, really happy with the recent progress of my team, both in FPL and UCL Fantasy. I'm at the top of most of my mini leagues, and I just want to keep outdoing myself. That's pretty much why I play these games. Yeah, that's kind of just pushing yourself to keep doing better and better. But yeah, obviously it's kind of good and relaxing in a way when you're top of your mini leagues. Remember the song COVID News when people transferring him out when he starts and scores? He starts and scores. Yeah, that's true. This is exactly the same. Minor injury. Exactly. Just the fact that it's a minor muscle injury. I have my doubts about it. I think he could be fine. Obviously, we'll see. Lewis disqualified for the quali. Yeah, I want to see what the reaction is saying. I'm guessing people are going ballistic. It's been trending all night, really, on Twitter, isn't it? Goalkeepers, Ramsdale, Foster, Trent, Chilwell, James, Cancelo, Livramento, Salah, Foden, Rafinha, Mbeumo, Douglas Luiz, Kane, Hwang, Tony. Which transfer to make? Great question. Goalkeepers are fine, despite the fixtures. Trent, Chilwell, James, Cancelo, Livramento. That's pretty much fine. I wouldn't change that. Salah, Foden, Rafinha, Mbeumo. I think Rafinha to either Bowen or Gallagher. I think that's what I would do in your situation, mate. And around Gameweek 14, Hwang could then become an Armstrong. Or if not, if you start to get more money by then, Jack, you could get a Wilson, for example, for Hwang. That's what I probably would do. Learning how to think before making any decisions has been the biggest takeaway for me from this channel of yours. So thanks a lot again for the insights. Much appreciated. Thank you very much, Aranya. Just offering my opinion. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But yeah, I think ultimately there's no kind of science to FPL. Same goes for anything really, but especially with FPL, because you can, make all the good decisions, have a really good plan, and it just doesn't go right. And sometimes you just get a lot of luck. You make maybe a bad decision really, and yet you get rewarded for it. So sometimes you need a bit of luck really, ultimately. Hi Dylan, sell Gray for Jota or Foden? I would go for Foden, mate, but Jota's also a great choice too. Mount to Gallagher and Vardy to Ronaldo, or Mount to Gallagher and Matip to Cancelo? Great questions, mate. I would do you Mount to Gallagher and Matip to Cancelo, but I do like the Vardy to Ronaldo move, but I think the other two are better. Arif. Gabriel John says, in my last question, if Son is injured, I saw a tweet repeating it just now. Would you do Kai to Jota or Tony to Wilson? Yeah, Gabriel, I answered this question already. I would do Shaw to Cancelo for sure, definitely. I know Shaw's facing Watford, but I would definitely get rid of him. Welcome, Ahmed. Thank you very much for tuning in. Mahmood says, Ramsdale, Cancelo, Livramento, Trent, Salah, Mbeumo, Gallagher, Rafinha, Foden, Kane, Antonio, Hwang, Aspie, Duffy on the bench. I think Aspie's the kind of main guy to get rid of. I would move him on to a James or a Chilwell. Duffy could become Livramento as well if he's fit. And if not, Johnson or Ben White or Lamptey. Other than that, your midfield's good. Maybe Rafinha can become either Bowen or Smith Rowe. I'd probably be looking at Bowen, to be honest, if you can afford it. So those are the transfers I'd recommend, Mahmood. Dylan, which game week would you sell Rafinha? Either now or in game week 16. The reason why, let me actually just show you very quickly. So obviously he faces Tottenham now, but look at the fixtures from game week 16 onwards. Chelsea away, City away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away. And then a few weeks later, West Ham away. I mean, this is awful. I think he could do well against West Ham, but the other fixtures are just so poor. And even then, you know, Everton, Man United, Tottenham, you know, it's basically he's got poor fixtures up until March. So yeah, ultimately I think that's the time to get rid, either now or in game week 16. But then again, he is fixture proof, I think, or at least he can still do all right in those fixtures. Would you go Vardy to Antonio and Christensen to Chile when the West Ham fixtures turn, or go Vardy to Ronaldo, Jesus to Brock, I downgrade Christensen to Chile? It says Ninja. Oof, that's tough. I would do the first set, actually, even though I would want Ronaldo for those fixtures long term, but for the time being, I think, yeah, I'd get Antonio and Chilwell for Christensen. Michael says Gaeta, Trent, Cancelo, Chilwell, Livramento, Saka, Mbumo, Salah, Foden, Wilson, Kane. I like your attack a lot. Wilson and Kane could be really good. Instead of Saka, I would rather have Gallagher or even Jarrod Bowen. Once again, same with Mbumo, but maybe keep him for the time being. But yeah, I think Saka and let's see who else. I like your defense, to be honest. Yeah, Saka's the kind of guy I would probably get rid of, and I would get Gallagher in if you can, if not Bowen. Vardy to Kane free transfer or hold Vardy? Honestly, look, it's a tough one. If I had enough money, I actually would still maybe keep Vardy. I think Kane will outscore Vardy this week in game week 12, but over the next 5, so looking from game week 13 to 16, 17, I think they'll be pretty similar, to be honest. I think Vardy could actually, you know, start to do really well when everyone gets off him. I will probably, if you can't really get to Son in midfield, I would do that. I'll do Vardy to Kane, and then he can be a placeholder for Ronaldo. Thanks for the advice, mate. Thank you very much, Jack. Much appreciated, mate. Think of Wilson in for Tony Antonio, but if Antonio out, I'm getting Bowen, but Bowen versus Rafinha is a point. Maybe I could get replace Jota to Bowen after Firmino is backed. Yeah, true. Wilson and for Tony is actually good as well. I wouldn't get rid of Antonio because you probably want to get him back in around 16 or 18. So I probably would get Wilson in your case then. Gabriel says, sorry, my question is before, would you roll instead of doing short? No, I wouldn't. You could roll, but I would rather do short to Cancelo, to be honest, mate. Play Vardy or Emerson Royale? I'd still play Vardy, honestly. Not too sure if you already answered this, but which 2 players would you start? Rudiger, Mbumo, Hwang or Cornet? I would start Mbumo and either Rudiger or Cornet. Let me just double check Burnley's fixture. I think yeah. Yeah, I would probably start Cornet potentially then, but I'd definitely be benching. Let me get the name up again. Oh yeah, Hwang, I'd bench him, potentially. Cancelo, Trent, Jota, Foden. Pick only 2 players. You can't bench any of those, really, can you? Oh, God. Foden and Cancelo for me, I'd start them, but I wouldn't bench Trent or Jota. Benrahma and Vardy to Son and Edouard Tony worth a -4. Well, Son is apparently injured, potentially, Mario. Obviously, let's wait and see. It could just be kind of a red herring. It could be a false alarm, but I'd hold your horses right now. And also, Vardy could be really good. I'd actually be looking to do maybe Benrahma to Bowen or Gallagher instead, in your case, Mario. Sell Antonio for Armstrong? I wouldn't do that, mate, because Armstrong has poor fixtures soon, and Antonio has good fixtures coming up, you know, around game week 16, 18. He could do really well against Wolves as well. Livramento will be okay for Norwich. We don't know anything yet. I think he will, based on what we know so far, but what we know is very little, to be honest. Ahmed says, my team, Salah, Arnold, Cancelo, Rudiger, Livramento, Rafinha, Salah, Gallagher, Son, Vardy, Tony. Any transfers? You've got Son and Vardy and you've got a good team overall. I think Rafinha maybe to Bowen or Gallagher. You've got Gallagher already, my bad. I would probably get Bowen then. Yeah, I think Rafinha to Bowen is the one to go for. If not, maybe Rudiger to James or Chilwell. I would do that, Ahmed. Agreed 100%. I feel it's always about backing one's gut and making moves that make logical sense, irrespective of whether they work or not. That's what makes playing the game worthwhile. Yeah, unless you keep making good decisions on paper and they don't turn out right. But I agree, to be honest. Yeah, at the end of the day, win some, lose some. Yeah, to be honest, you could be having off to a flying start right now and then crumble and vice versa. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, it's a long season, and we're only in November, so many months to go. Should I do my transfers now or wait? It was the Wilson and Jota one for Gray and Alba. I'd wait, owned by him, I'd wait and then make those transfers. Obviously, if the circumstances apply. Please rate Gaeta, Cancelo, Trent, Rudiger, James, Gallagher, Salah, Rafinha, Kane, Tony, Antonio, Foster, Duffy, Gray, Sissoko. So good teammate. Duffy could be a kind of concern. Gray is the weak link in your team. I would move him on to Gallagher. You got Gallagher, Jesus. Okay. You know what? I'm going to end the stream now. I'm joking now. You got Gallagher, Salah. I like that. I like Kane. Yeah, Antonio. Your defense is good once again. Maybe Rudiger to Chilwell, maybe, especially if Alonso's still out. But other than that, good defense, good back line. Gallagher's fine, Salah's fine. Rafinha to Bowen, if not Smith Rowe, maybe in a few weeks' time. Other than that, though, it's a good team. I probably wouldn't change much. Duffy, he could become Ben White, Lamptey, or I'm trying to remember the name. Livramento, no? Yeah, you don't have Livramento, so yeah, I'd probably be looking to get him in if he's fit. And Gray, he is the weak link there. So, yeah, if you can afford it, Gray to Bowen, definitely a good move. Kane and Jota or Son and Wilson? Probably Son and Wilson, but I like both of them a lot, to be honest. Ali says, rate my team. Ramsdale, Foster, Trent, Cancelo, James, Reguilon, Livramento, Salah, Son, Rafinha, Mbeumo, Brownhill, Kane, Antonio and Davis. So you've got 2 bench fodder options, and the rest is good squad depth, so I like it. I like your defense. You've got one of each of the best teams in the league, especially defensively. You got Reguilon in there already. You got Son. You got Salah. Maybe instead of Rafinha, you could start to displace him with Bowen, Gallagher once again. So that's pretty much the only suggestions I recommend right now. Maybe Mbeumo as well. So one of those other midfielders in as well. But yeah, that's fine. And I wouldn't bench Antonio, by the way, against Wolves. I definitely wouldn't. I'd actually start him over Rafinha, if anything, or Reguilon. Vardy and Havertz out for Wilson and Jota -4. I probably wouldn't, Musa. I like Wilson and Jota, but I think Vardy could actually do really well over the next few game weeks. Rafinha versus Chilwell for this game week. I'd start Chilwell, I think, yeah. What do you think of Leeds' current situation? Will they even come back? Well, they look better in the last game, in game week 11, I believe. So, yeah, I think they're not going to be as good as they were last season, but I think they will improve and they won't be as bad as they were before. So that's my kind of opinion on it, general opinion. But a lot depends on Bamford. I think he makes such a big difference up front. Force on this team: Ramsdale, Reguilon, Cancelo, Trent, Reece James, Smith Rowe, Salah, Foden, Antonio, King, Livramento, Luiz on the bench. Obviously, Luiz is still injured, isn't he? So he's one you could replace potentially. I like your defense. You don't need to change anything there, I believe. Midfield, I'd rather have Gallagher over Zaha. And yeah, I think the rest is fine. Maybe King. I still don't like him too much, to be honest. But yeah, that's a good team. You don't have to change too much. I think that's the only change I'd make. Zaha down to Gallagher. And maybe, if you have enough money, a King to a Wilson. And your team is looking really good, Yusuf. Reguilon versus Lamptey. I'd say Reguilon. Reguilon and Emerson. I think Emerson might score more goals this season, but Reguilon just has better underlying stats. He'll probably get more assists, and I'll probably go for Reguilon at this moment in time, but Emerson's also looking good. James Ward-Prowse against Norwich. He's a decent option. I'd rather go for an Armstrong or someone like that, but he is a decent option. Mbeumo instead of Bowen. I'd rather have Bowen, but Mbeumo, you don't have to get rid of him now. He's facing Newcastle after all. Diaz to Reguilon. I think Diaz and City, they're just going to get more clean sheets in general. Thank you very much to Yusuf for the super chat. And wow, that's the first time I've seen a super chat with an emoji like that. But thank you very much, Yusuf. Hopefully that's not, not in a rude way. But yeah, thank you very much, mate. Son or Kane? Once again, on a wild card, I would be tempted to go for Kane because he's a placeholder for Ronaldo, and I said this before he scored a hat-trick, by the way, but if that's not really a concern for you, I think Son just offers better value for money right now. The thing is, though, once again, there are reports that he is, he's picked up a little knock during international break. Thoughts on Gerrard for Villa job? Will you keep an eye on for any Villa players? Potentially. He did rotate a little bit at Rangers. Obviously, I didn't watch the Scottish League. I'm not going to claim to be an expert there. But he did play a 4-3-3 a lot. And players to look out for, I think Watkins and Danny Ings for sure when he's fit. Other than that, maybe Buendia. He could be a decent option as well. But obviously, they're kind of just waits and sees, as we're, kind of discussing. I wouldn't really commit to them right now. In terms of defenders, though, maybe Matty Cash, but other than that, not really. Martinez is too expensive this year and just not worth it. Villa are really poor at the back. But I think he could do a good job at Villa. But it might take time. People might expect instant results. You'll probably keep them up, obviously. They're in a bit of a relegation battle at the moment. But I think next season he could actually push them into the top half. Maybe this season he could start to maybe aim for a 12th to 14th finish. You never know. But Villa have some good players on paper. It's just going to take a long time to gel. And obviously, how can I forget Leon Bailey? I think he's the kind of main guy I'd look out for. Even over Buendia. Thank you, Dylan. Cheers, mate. Thank you, Chu. Very much appreciated. I forgot to say I can get Foden in place of Rafinha. Definitely, Ahmed. Definitely. I'd definitely do that. No doubt about it. Is it worth taking Foden out for Jota? No, mate. Akshay. Foden's a really good choice. I wouldn't do that. Should I get in Lamptey right now? Free transfer in case Mbeumo drops in price, or wait till next week and do 2 free transfers, the Gallagher and Lamptey duo? I'd wait till next week and do 2 free transfers, mate. Yeah. What's your rank target for this season? Great question. It's just a better what I did last season, which was around 50k, which I was a bit disappointed by. I thought I could do even better, maybe top 40, 30k. But yeah, I'd say I'd want to get into the top 50k, so like 49k and above, if possible. Obviously, I could do even better, but at the moment, it has been a bit tumultuous recently. My rank has been dipping a lot. Obviously, game week 11 was very good. I pretty much almost halved my rank, but yeah, that's what I'll be aiming for. James, Cancelo, Trent, Tomiyasu, Duffy, Rafinha, Smith Rowe, Salah, Son, Brownhill, Vardy, Tony, Antonio. Any advice? Good team. I don't know who your keepers are, but I like your attack. One way to improve it potentially is to get a Wilson in for Tony, or if not, downgrading Tony and then using that money to upgrade your midfield, like Brownhill to Gallagher, Rafinha to Bowen or Gallagher. That's also another good move for you, Jad. Defense. I think your defense could be improved slightly. Tomiyasu and Duffy. I'm not sure you have in goal, but if you do have Ramsdale, I would probably move Tomiyasu onto Livramento if he's fit, and if not, Johnson. The same goes for Duffy, to be honest. Are you thinking about bringing Kane or Son next week? I am. One actual possibility is to, let me actually show you, is to do this. Rafinha and Vardy out, and let's get these people in. I can get Harry Kane in, and I've just about enough money, 5.8 million, to get Gallagher, the second highest scoring midfielder this season. That's for a -4, but then again, I look at that and I like those two players, but then Towns is a weakness, Douglas Luiz is a weakness, Livramento might be injured, so I'm not really, looking too good. Also, Tony's out of form, so it's very risky to take that hit. In terms of getting Son in, and obviously he is an injury doubt at the moment, based on the news we've gotten recently, unfortunately, it probably does require another downgrade again with Vardy, but yeah, that's what I'm probably thinking about, potentially. I still prefer Son over Kane, like I said before, but the thing I like about Kane is he's a placeholder for Ronaldo for those really good fixtures for United. Regional Livramento, I still prefer Livramento, to be honest, in terms of value for money. Do you think Newcastle's still a free gift after Howe joined? They're still going to be weak defensively, but I think they're actually going to be a bit tougher to play against. They'll score more goals, create more chances, and maybe be in more games rather than just, sit back, defend, and hope for the best. Is Son going to play versus Leeds? Obviously, we don't know that yet, Nicola. We don't have enough information, but based on the information we've got so far, a minor injury, I think he should be fine, and if not, by game week 13. Not at all. Thanks for the great content. Thank you very much, Yusuf. Very much appreciate it. I just found the emoji pretty funny. I got 2 quick questions for you before we end the stream. Yeah, sure thing, rock and roll. And by the way, I did make a Discord server. I put it for members only. We have the exact same team, only difference is Tony for Benrahma. Fair enough. I did have Benrahma before my wild card, and he did alright for me, I guess. I mean, I kind of got in on him late, I think. I'm a bit late into the stream. Thoughts on bringing Jota in? It's looking probably even better now, especially if Son is out for game week 12. I'd rather go for Foden over Jota, but he's still probably the second or third best around that. Bowen or Gallagher? That's a great question, Michael. On current form, you have to say Bowen. Only one blank since Game Week 5. I talked about this before. Since Game Week 8, he's the only player other than Salah to have 1.5 or 1.5, I'm just repeating myself, over 1.5 XG or XA of any player. So they're both really good options, but I probably would say Bowen, actually. I do like Gallagher a lot, though. Let's see. Should I transfer in Wilson instead of Vardy and Rafinha in for Cornet and have 4.5 million in the bank, or just Wilson instead of Tony? Sure, should I consider Ronaldo after that game versus Chelsea? I probably would do... It's a tough one because Cornet, it's not the greatest fixture, I think, but yeah, he's a decent option, I think, Cornet. He's another one that deserves more attention. I probably would do... I'd get Cornet in for Rafinha, actually, and keep Vardy for those good fixtures, Nicola. Gallagher worth the hit? It depends who you're getting rid of, Mohamed, but it could be, I think, long term. Tony to Wilson, I think I don't know about sideways, but I think it is worth it over the next 4. Then you'll probably be looking to get rid of Wilson. That's the problem. Do you prefer Maddison or Tielemans for the next week? I think Tielemans, but Maddison is kind of a streaky player. You never know what you're going to get from him. Havertz out for Jota, Foden. If Son is a -4 plus varies out. I wouldn't make any transfers yet, and then if Son is out, then you can get rid of him. But yeah, Havertz out for Jota is a good move. Would you rate top 5 player in the world's team? Potentially, obviously, yeah. Obviously, I'm open to suggestions. I have asked for new ideas or things that people want to see. That could be something. Bench Reguilon or Livramento? I'd bench Reguilon, but obviously let's wait and see if Livramento is nuisance. I put 15 teams on screen and I rated all of them, and in the live chat, whenever someone puts their team in, I rate them. So Ali says, how can I improve this team? Sanchez, Steele, Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, James, Williams, Salah, Jota, Son, Foden, Brownhill, Williams, Antonio, Hwang. Maybe potentially a goalkeeper transfer, Sanchez to Ramsdale or Gaeta, but it's not necessary. Your defence is good, but once again, Rudiger to Chilwell could be on the cards. Williams to Livramento, Johnson, White or Lamptey, take your pick there. Salah, Jota, Son's really good. Foden as well. You don't have to change anything in your midfield. It's absolutely fine, Ali. Williams, Antonio, Hwang. Williams up front. Oh, okay. I think your forward line's a bit weak, I'd say. Yeah, I'd look to get a Wilson in there potentially, or other than that, maybe an Armstrong. But then again, the fixtures are pretty poor for Southampton, I'd say. But one way you could improve this team, unfortunately, might require downgrade in midfield to then have a placeholder up front, but I probably wouldn't do that. Ultimately, yeah, just make that goalkeeper transfer potentially, or get one of Chelsea fullbacks for Rudiger, upgrade Williams to another, a better defender you can count on. You're going to need that squad depth in the fixture period during Christmas. Is it time for CR7? I think around Game Week 15 or 16 potentially, and let's wait and see. Walker or Emerson? To start, I'd start Walker, but overall, maybe Emerson's just better value for money. I'd rather have a Cancelo or Diaz than Walker. I'll drop off now. Dylan, thanks for the team review again and all the suggestions. Thank you very much, Aranya. Good to see you here once again. Should I downgrade Vardy to Wilson and get Son in next week, or just go Vardy to Kane? Great question. I probably would just do Vardy to Kane, mate, even though I do like Will. Please, mate, don't let people get on the Bowen train. I have him at 1.9%. Yeah, I know, but he's a really good option. I'm just offering my opinion. He might start to dip. He's not going to continue this run that he's on, but he is a really good option. 4-point hit for removing Sanchez, says Alfie. If you have Steele or Foster who can cover, probably not. When is it time to bring Antonio back in? Game week 16 or 18, mate. So let's actually illustrate this. So in game week 16, he faces Burnley away, then Arsenal away, where he could still score. I think he did it last season. Then look at those fixtures. Up until game week 27. So yeah, game week 16 or 18 for me for sure. After that Chelsea game, that's when I'd be looking to bring him in. Kane in worth a -8 hit? Not for me, I think. If it's a -4 potentially, but a -8 seems a bit excessive. Thoughts on team? It's a Spurs fan. Foster, Sanchez, Trent, Cancelo, Chilwell, Livramento, Salah, Foden, Smith Rowe, Tony, Vardy, Antonio, Gary, Sissoko and Andrew on the bench. I think maybe in terms of squad depth, that's something you could look to improve over the Christmas period, but you don't have to just yet. I like your defence a lot, except obviously the Norwich defender. You could move him on to Ben Johnson, maybe a Lamptey or a Ben White. You've got Foster and Sanchez, so yeah, Ben White actually would be a decent one, covering the Arsenal defence when they have some good fixtures like Newcastle at home. Other than that, you don't have to really make too many changes as of now, but Smith Rowe maybe to Gallagher ahead of these poor fixtures, or if not, let's actually look at your team. So you've got Tony, Vardy, Antonio. One thing you could do is downgrade one of your strikers and then upgrade Sissoko to Gallagher. I think that's what I'd probably be looking at. Apologies, a little bit of runny nose, but don't worry, I'm not sick. Hopefully not. But yeah. Hopefully you got that, Spurs fan, and hopefully that was helpful. Keeping Vardy or moving for funds and bring players like Foden. Looking at fixtures, Vardy can be better than Foden, no rotation risk. I probably would just keep him for now. Child pranksters. I think he could do really well, like I said, from Gameweek 13 onwards. What can I improve in this team? Gaeta, Cancelo, Trent, Chilwell, Livramento, Salah, Foden, Gallagher, Son, Kane, Armstrong. Great question, Hamza. Well, I mean, I did go through your team, Hamza, by the way. I don't know if you were here for it, but I did go over your team earlier. So I could actually, let me actually put it on screen then, potentially. There we go. And, oh dear, what's happening now? Whoa. Alright, there we go. So this is your team, I believe. Let me know if it isn't, but yeah, I think this is your team on screen. Let's see. So you say how can I improve in my team? I think I already talked about this before. So I like your defense. I don't think you need to change anything there. I like your goalkeepers. Your midfield's also really solid. In terms of improving it, this is perfect, to be honest. I'm checking now. Let's see. So you've got Son and Kane in. I'm trying to remember what I said before, actually. It's literally like a daze, because I've been talking about probably hundreds of teams at this point. So my mind is a bit blank. I need to actually try to remind myself of what I actually said. Yeah, I think in terms of your team selection for Game Week 12, I would start Hwang over Johnson, as in terms of the bench order, I'd put him over there. I remember saying that. I don't remember what else I said, though. I think with Armstrong, if he does lose his place, he is someone you could maybe move on. And you might arguably be a bit light up front. I know you have Kane and you've got Son, Salah, Foden. You've got an exceptional team, but that is maybe one thing you could, bear in mind for the future. And obviously, around Game Week 15, 16, you can get Ronaldo in for Kane. But yeah, I think it's a good team for now. You don't have to make a transfer. Sometimes I just look at a team, on paper it looks really good. You don't have to make a transfer as of yet. And Hwang, obviously, around Game Week 14, you can maybe downgrade him, actually, to a 4.5, 4.4 million option. And then you can upgrade Brownhill to a Smith Rowe or Jared Bowen. I think that's what would really improve your team. But that's around Game Week 14. You don't have to make that transfer as of yet. Hopefully you got that, mate. Would you play back five of your defenders? Well, that's what I'm doing at the moment, but I might actually change that and play Vardy in for one of them. But it is risky either way. I have Ronaldo and Antonio. Should I keep him or anyone else? Still 2 free transfers left. I'd keep both of them, mate. If you've kept them in this long, I just keep them. I don't think it's worth getting rid of them, to be honest. Cornet is just like Mbeumo, both playing up front, but Cornet is a better finisher. Yeah, I think, once again, around his price, him, Smith Rowe, Gallagher, and Bowen, they're the 4 best, in my opinion, right now. Sold Mane for Foden. Thoughts? I think that's the right decision, VA. I think he just offers better value for money. Mane is a really good player. He's been in good form this season, but he's just not really justifying that price tag. Cancelo versus Trent? Jesus. Cancelo because of the fixtures, I think, but I like Trent a lot, of course. Perky says, hi mate, I'm torn between Son and Kane. Vardy to 6 million attacker plus Mbeumo to Son. Or Walker to Region, Mbeumo to Norman, and Vardy to Kane. In your situation, Perky, I'd probably look to get Son. I think your team will look better overall. I just think there's too many downgrades in your second set of transfers. I don't think Walker to Region is that bad, really, but Mbeumo to Norman, and then Vardy to Kane, you're going to have one less, body heading into that Christmas period, but maybe I'm overthinking that a bit too much. Do you prefer Vardy or Spurs players? Great question. I think because of the fixtures, you have to say Son or Kane. But once again, with oh yeah, by the way, Perky, because I just recommended Son. Bear in mind there are reports that he did pick up a injury, or at least a little knock. So don't make those transfers yet. But obviously, if he is out, then go for Kane. And the transfers aren't too bad, really. And yeah, Child Pranksters, I like both of them, to be honest. I think Vardy can match them over the next 5. But definitely in Game Week 12, if Son and Kane are playing and they're fit and everything, I think they'll outscore Vardy in that fixture. Ramsdale, Rudiger, Diaz, Trent, Livramento, Reguilon, Salah, Captain, Foden, Rafinha, Kane, Jesus. How's my team? It's good. One way to improve it potentially is to get a Chelsea fullback for Rudiger. Yeah, Reguilon's in there already. That's good. Salah, Foden, Rafinha, Kane. Another way to improve it, once again, is getting Bowen, Gallagher, Smith Rowe, etc. for Rafinha. Need any more teams to rate, Dylan? Well, you can send it in through the live chat, but in terms of images, it will take a little while to set up. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to, add any more in terms of images. I just put Hamza's back on screen because, yeah, he mentioned his own team in the live chat again. So yeah, let's get my team back up. And if you have any, more teams you want me to rate, put them in the live chat before we wrap up. We've been going on for nearly 2 hours. Jesus Christ. Time has gone by very quickly. And Ninja says, how would you rate my team out of 10? I think I did actually say you're the only team that I technically gave a rating. I think I said definitely an 8 out of 10 at least. But either way, in terms of rating, I'm not really a big fan of it because, ultimately it's about, what's good, what's bad, or what could be improved, rather than, oh, mine's a 7 or a 9 or whatever. Hold Greenwood, I would sell, mate, honestly, Ahmed. Sell Vardy for Kane. I can see why you want to do it. I thought about it myself, but I think it's worth keeping Vardy as well. You don't have to get Kane, in my opinion. If you could change FPL, i.e. add more chips or change squad numbers, what would you change? That's a great question, John K. Maybe bring back the all-out attack chip, or, at the moment, I think someone mentioned it recently, a chip like Who Needs Attack, and then just play 5-5-0 and just forget all these underperforming forwards. But yeah, if not, bring in some stuff from UCL Fantasy, like ball recovery points, or the Limitless chip, where it's basically like a free hit, but you have unlimited transfer or budget restrictions, should I say. Yeah, Ali, I rated your team already, mate. Yeah, rock and roll, don't worry. I don't think it happens too much in FPL. It's more in UCL Fantasy that happens. Can you see my team? I'm thinking of Diaz plus Vardy to Livramento, Kane. Well, if... Once again, to anyone who's sending their teams on Twitter or Instagram, I haven't checked it. I'm not able to check it right now. But yeah, just send it in the live chat. I know it's a bit of a pain typing it all out, but yeah, it just makes it much quicker being able to go through them. Apologies for that. Hi Dylan, what did you say about Son not being available for Game Week 12? Well, reports are coming out that he has picked up a minor knock. Obviously, we don't know the full extent to the injury. I think it's a muscle problem, but it's a minor one. And, we've had this before with Son. And that's the reason why I didn't get him on my wildcard in Game Week 8. And in the end, he was fine. And, I wanted him, to be honest. Ashish says, hi Dylan, this is my team. Ramsdale, Trent, Cancelo, Chilwell, Salah captain, Rafinha, Benrahma, Ronaldo, Vardy, Hwang. With one transfer left, no money in the bank. Any tips? I keep your defense as it is. I'm guessing you have Livramento already. Rafinha, once again, I keep mentioning with Rafinha, but you can downgrade him to Gallagher or Bowen. I think that could be a good move for you. Around Game Week 14, Hwang could become, for example, a Wilson if you can afford it. But then again, I think by Game Week 14, maybe not the best time to get Wilson, to be fair. But if Armstrong is still, in the team, he's another one to look at, or Broca. And if not, you can downgrade Hwang to a 4.5, 4.4 million option, and then upgrade maybe a Benrahma as well even. But yeah, I think the main problem you could say is having no Spurs cover. I'm in a similar situation as well, but yeah, I think Rafinha, you can actually move on to one of those options. Perky, I have a really good team. That's why I'm leaning towards Kane, because my mid is already okay. Yeah, fair enough. I'd go for Kane, Perky, and also with the Son news, it's not ideal really to be bringing him in right now. Antonio captain this week, it actually is on the cards. I probably wouldn't go there, but I think he's a really good option this week, and he tends to do well against Wolves and West Ham. At least they do really well. Kane with Son is too much. I mean, based on form, you'd have to say so, Mosh, but both good options. I mean, that's a differential in itself. A lot of people don't even have any of them, including myself. A lot of people don't have both of them, or should I say even just one of them. Just having both of them is a very nice differential, I think. And if I had to pick one once again, and you're not thinking about a placeholder for Ronaldo and all of this, I'd go for Son. But if not, then obviously getting Kane in there and then being able to transfer him to Ronaldo is looking really good. But yeah, ultimately it could be too much. But I think over the next 4 it's worth it. Then you can hop off Kane and get Ronaldo. Are you going to do a limitless chip video for UCL Fantasy? I probably will, John. I'll let you know. But yeah, I've got a few videos planned for FPL and UCL Fantasy still, so still quite hectic. There's a lot to go through. What are your thoughts on Man United assets from Game Week 16? Probably Ronaldo and Bruno are the ones I'd mainly look at, Gabriel, but it's probably Ronaldo, because I look at the United defence, maybe a Shaw, but they've just kind of burned me in the past, and United defensively aren't great. But yeah, probably just Ronaldo, if I'm being honest, Gabriel. No one else. Dylan, I'm warning you now, start Rafinha. I might, to be honest, Alfie. I'm not confident with benching him, to be honest. What are your thoughts on you? Oh yeah, I just mentioned that. Bivik says Gaeta, Carson, Nuno Tavares, Chilwell, James Reguilon, Livramento, Trossard, Mbumo, Jota, Salah, Son, Kane, Hwang, Tony. Good moves. I think Hwang, once again, around Game Week 14, you can move him on. You could downgrade him and then upgrade one of your midfielders. I think Mbumo and Trossard, they are two players you could actually move on for example, Gallagher and Bowen. I keep mentioning them, but I think they're great options. Smith Rowe. Your defence is good though. And maybe Nuno Tavares. I don't think he's kind of secure long term, especially with Tierney back. So if he starts to lose his place, you can move him on to Johnson, to Livramento himself. Oh no, you've got Livramento. Lamptey. And you've got Gaeta. Yeah, maybe Ben White as Arsenal cover. So it's kind of a sideways move, but White is pretty nailed and he gets more bonus points. Should I start both Chilwell and James? That's what I'm doing this week, mate. But it depends who you're thinking of, starting ahead of them. But I think it's not really a bad thing to have both of them there. Should I play Vardy or Livramento? Probably Livramento, but benching Vardy just seems ridiculous, doesn't it? Any news on Livramento? No news, mate. I think he will play, but we just haven't got enough information yet, so I can't tell you that with certainty, to be honest. Jake says Sanchez, Begovic, Trent, James Reguilon, Cancelo, Livramento, Salah, Foden, Trossard. Wait, oh yeah, I just mentioned it. I think, didn't I? Let me just double check this. Oh no, there was another team that's quite similar. Sanchez, Begovic, Trent. Yeah. I like your defense. I don't think I'd change anything there. Your midfield, once again, Trossard and Mbumo. I would probably once again get a Gallagher or a Bowen in there. And you got Smith Rowe already, Kane, Tony, Hwang. Around Game Week 14, you can get rid of Hwang. That's why I'd probably be looking to offload. You can actually downgrade him and then upgrade your midfield. I know you probably answered this already, but I tuned in 10 minutes ago. Do you prefer Son or Kane for your team? For my own team, that's a great question. Maybe Kane, actually. I just think it's easier to get to him, and also it's a placeholder for Ronaldo around Game Week 15, 16. But otherwise, it just have to be Son, to be honest. I think he offers better value for money. Should I prioritise bringing in Son, Kane or Cancelo? It depends who you're getting rid of, Aiden. But I think with the fixtures and the ceiling, I probably would have to say Son or Kane. But just bear in mind, Son has a little injury. Let's wait and see what happens. Cancelo long term is the best of the three, so long as he can stay into that team. When is the best time to bench boost versus triple captain? Well, I mean, there are cases where people, have a very successful triple captain or bench boost during a single game week, like Salah against United and stuff like this. But otherwise, the typical thing to do is to bench boost in a double game week, and the same goes for triple captain. You use your second wildcard to build a team that has 15 players with 2 games. And then, obviously, you're going to bench boost there. And then, same with the triple captaincy. You have Salah, if he has 2 good fixtures, and obviously a double game week, then you triple captain him there. But if not, maybe triple captain Salah when he's facing Norwich at home. Or whenever, you've kind of got a really big benching headache, and everyone on your bench pretty much has a good fixture. But otherwise, yeah, I'd look for a double game week, and then you can wildcard into that. Thank you, Toby. Hi, love your content. Any thoughts? Mendy, Foster, Trent, James, Chilwell, Livramento, Cancelo, Salah, Foden, Smith Rowe, Son, Gallagher, Antonio Broca, Jimenez. Thanks. Around Game Week 14, Jimenez could become, I think, Wilson. Well, I keep saying this, but Wilson's fixtures actually turn around that time. It's not really ideal. Let's actually see. So let's break it down bit by bit. If you ever need money, I think ultimately Mendy to a Gaeta or a Ramsdale is the way to get that money, Toby. I like your defence a lot. I don't think I'd change anything there. Your midfield, once again, very solid. I actually probably wouldn't change anything. Arguably maybe a Bowen in for Smith Rowe, but otherwise you don't have to. Antonio Broca, Jimenez. It's a tough one, isn't it? I think Broca and Jimenez I'm not too sure about. I like Antonio. I'd definitely keep him. Jimenez I keep definitely for the next 3, but then, the fixtures from 14-21, they are absolutely awful for Wolves. And it could be a good time to get off him. Maybe Wilson is still a good choice, to be fair. But yeah, I'm not sure how much money you have in the bank, Toby, but Broca and Jimenez are the kind of 2 main ones I'd be looking at to maybe upgrade or get rid of. And Mendy down to one of those cheap goalkeepers is the way to achieve that. I have Ronaldo and Antonio and still 2 free transfers with no Spurs players. Well, at least you have 2 transfers though, and that's a good, position to be in, and it gives you more flexibility to get Son or Kane, depending on, what news we get. Do you need Ronaldo if you're going to captain Salah most games? No, honestly you don't. And also Ronaldo isn't really, proving to be that valuable in terms of, he's 12.4 million and you're not going to captain him most weeks. They're all becoming one and the same. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much an identical team. Maybe he switched accounts or something. I start Vardy, Aubameyang or Greenwood to start this week as fantasy draft. Vardy for me, probably. No, Greenwood. Yeah, he's facing Watford. I go for Greenwood. Hello, mate. Would appreciate your feedback on my team. Ramsdale, Shaw, James, Creswell, Salah, Gallagher, Mount, Rafinha, Ronaldo, Tony Vardy. I know Creswell has good fixtures coming up soon, but him and Shaw, I'd get rid of. Christian. I'd look to get Trent if you can, and Cancelo in for both of them. In order to achieve that, looking at your team, maybe downgrade one of your attackers or midfielders. Mount is another one I'd probably look to get rid of, maybe to Bowen. And if not, Smith Rowe. You've already got Gallagher in there. Rafinha as well, so you can get those 2 players I just mentioned for Rafinha and Mount. You don't have to get rid of them just yet, especially Rafinha. You got Ronaldo and Vardy. So another thing you could do is Vardy down to Wilson, maybe this week in particular, and then you can upgrade one of those midfielders to Jota or Son. That's what I'd be looking to do, Christian. But yeah, definitely in defence. I like James, but Shaw and Creswell. Maybe it's not the ideal time to get rid of Shaw, but yeah, I'd get rid of Creswell. And yeah, I'd look to kind of restructure your team. Vardy to Bruno. If this is draft, then yeah, I could see why. But once again, with Vardy, he's got really good fixtures after game week 12. I'm quite new to FPL. Do you receive another wildcard? You do. You have 2 wildcards. You get the second one around game week 18 or 19. I think last season we got it around 18. Alisson, Cancelo, Trent, Chilwell, Duffy, Reguilon, Mount, Salah, Gallagher, Sarr, Allen, Antonio Jesus, Pukki. Just get a little break. So you've got double Liverpool defence. I would probably downgrade Alisson to a cheap goalkeeper. Once again, Ramsdale, Gaeta. It gives you enough money to then upgrade other players. Duffy to Livramento, or if he's fit, Johnson, White, or if not, Lamptey. Mount, I would move on to Bowen or Smith Rowe. Same with Sarr. I'd keep Allen as your kind of bench fodder option. And Antonio Jesus is fine, to be honest. But you probably, if you have enough money to kind of spare, an upgrade from Jesus to Vardy or Kane or Ronaldo's on the cards for sure. And maybe a downgrade from Pukki to a bench fodder option is, the way to go. Yeah, Ludwig, in terms of sending teams, I've already gone through 15 teams. I put them on screen and I talked about them. And I've probably, rated 20, 30 teams in the live chat as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. People are sending their teams in the live chat now and I'm going through them. When is the double game week? Obviously, we don't have any confirmation yet, but they're mainly going to happen in the second half of the season, with the kind of clashes with the Carabao, the FA Cup and the Champions League. So yeah, there's not going to be any at the moment, but maybe one next month, and if not January, February, that's when we're going to start to see them. Would you get in Wilson for Tony for free this week or Gallagher for Mbeumo? Great question. That's probably Gallagher for Mbeumo because long term he's a better pick than Wilson. Great feedback, thanks. Thank you, Toby, very much appreciated. Vardy and Livramento or Trent and Tony? Oh my god. Probably Vardy and Livramento, and then upgrade Vardy to a Kane or a Ronaldo. Copsy Coop or Co-op says James, Chilwell, Walker, Trent, Livramento, Salah, Foden, Jota, Cornet, Gallagher, Vardy, Hwang, Tony. Yeah, I think if you can, I would move Walker on to Cancelo. Obviously, you've got 0.5 million in the bank, so you're probably a bit short. But that's definitely one way to improve your team. Hwang around game week 14 I look to get rid of. Other than that, it's a tough one. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of the strikers at the moment. I think, yeah, one of the Spurs players you could look to get in, but that's going to probably require Vardy down to Antonio. So that's one thing you could do, Kupsi. You could get Antonio in game week 16 or 18 for Vardy. That's when Leicester's fixtures kind of end as well. And that will give you enough money to get Son in midfield, but obviously by then he will have gone up in price pretty significantly. Cornet or Mbeumo? At the moment, I have to say Cornet, to be honest. But Mbeumo is still a good option. Same with Tony. You don't have to get rid of them this week. They are facing Newcastle after all. Ludwig says, Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, Livramento, Chilwell, Duffy, Salah, Rafinha, Foden, Mbeumo, Brownhill, Kane, Antonio, Hwang. I like your attack with Kane and Antonio. Hwang, of course, once again, I'm not really too fond of, but around Game Week 14, you could get rid of him, maybe downgrade. Rafinha, once again, I'd get Gallagher or Bowen. I keep forgetting because I've said this so many times now, but I would actually get those two players. And Mbeumo's another one on the chopping block potentially. I like your defence though. Cancelo, Trent, Livramento, Chilwell. Yeah, maybe Duffy. He can become Ben White. But to be fair, you have Ramsdale already, so I would probably say either Lamptey, Ben Johnson. Yeah, I'd look to one of them for Duffy as well. Especially when he loses his place. You don't have to do that right now. Abhishek says hello. Ramsdale, Chilwell, Cancelo, Reguilon, Livramento, Son, Smith Rowe, Foden, Salah, Kane, Antonio. That's a solid team, to be honest. There's not really a transfer I'd make right now. I'm not sure who else you have, like in terms of your bench, but those players you have, I wouldn't really be looking to get rid of them. You know, long term, I'd rather have Gallagher over Smith Rowe, but they're both pretty similar. Vivan says Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, Chilwell, Salah, Son, Bowen, Mbeumo, Kane, Tony. Yeah, you've got Bowen in there, the famous Bowen. I think Gallagher in for Mbeumo, whether it's now or in a few weeks' time, definitely one way to improve your team. I like your defence a lot, no need to change it, and your attack is good. Obviously, if Tony continues to blank, that's when you could start to maybe get off him. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend, Vivan. Yeah. Game Changer says, hi mate, huge fan, thank you very much mate. Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, Chilwell, James Foden, Jota, Salah, Son, Gallagher, Antonio, Gaeta, Davis, Hwang, Brock on the bench. Yeah, you've got two good rotating goalkeepers, your defence is good. I like your midfield. Really like your midfield actually. Your attack is a bit weak obviously, but then again, the kind of options I'm going to be recommending like Wilson or, you know, Ronaldo, Kane, it's kind of unrealistic to have them as well as your midfield and all of that. It's a good team overall. You don't have to make these changes, but I just consider in a few weeks' time maybe dragging a bit of money from the midfield, maybe from Jota, for example, when Firmino comes back, using that money to then upgrade a Hwang or a Broca, probably a Hwang, and then getting, you know, one of those premium strikers, or if not, you know, it doesn't have to be premium, but just a bit more reliable and consistent. But yeah, that's a really good team overall. Thank you, Ahmed. Good to see you on here once again. Dini and Short at 5 million would be super tempting. At 5 million, yes, but just around 5.4, 5.5, not so much. And defenses are just awful, to be honest. Saka to Gallagher, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd definitely recommend that. It's definitely an upgrade. Thank you, Kupsi Cop. Very much appreciated. Ali Bin says Duffy, Rudiger, Chilwell, Marcel, Cancelo, Salah, Rafinha, Smith Rowe, Havertz, Brownhill, Jimenez, Tony, Vardy. What changes should I make? Marcel, he immediately strikes out. If it's not now, Game Week 14 when the fixtures turn, I look to get rid of Marcel. Duffy as well when he loses his place. Rafinha and potentially Havertz, but look, it's a tough one obviously because Jimenez, I know he's got really tough fixtures, but he can still tick over nicely. But yeah, the fixtures are too poor. So Jimenez and Marcel around Game Week 14 onwards, that's when you can start to get rid of them. And you don't have Trent, so you can maybe get Trent in for Marcel, maybe Johnson in for Duffy, or if not Lamptey, White, the kind of same names I've been talking about before. For Rafinha, I'd be looking at either Bowen once again or Gallagher. And yeah, for Jimenez, when you know the fixtures are really bad, I'd look to get Antonio for sure. No doubt about it, Antonio for me. And thank you very much to everyone who has been tuning in. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Very much appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. We've been going for like 2 hours or something, so very much appreciated. And yeah, these are my socials. People asked for it earlier. Dylan_RCM on Twitter and Instagram. Don't worry, I'm not ending it just yet, but I'll be going through the last few questions and comments, and then I will then wrap up. We've been going on for quite a while. We've gotten through a lot of teams, so thank you very much to everyone who sent them in and who also wrote them in the live chats. Very much appreciated. But yeah, now let's get back to your teams quickly before wrapping up. FPL River says Vardy and Mbeumo out for Jota, Wilson or Son, Broca. Well, Son once again is a little bit of an injury doubt. I'm not too sure about that. I think he could be fine, but let's wait and see. I probably would, in your case, then get Jota and Wilson, but you could just keep Vardy and Mbeumo, to be honest, River. I think Vardy could do really well over the next 5, and Mbeumo's still a decent option. Obviously, he just hasn't really been getting those goals, but Vardy is definitely worth considering to keep. If I replace Vardy with Wilson, I can consider transferring out Rudiger and bringing Trent. Yeah, true. In that case, for you, Nicola, I would probably do it, but Rudiger's not a bad option either, and you don't have to do it this week. Rudiger has a good record against Leicester. He likes to score against them. Bench is weak. Davis, Duffy, Brownhill. Yeah, I mean, for anyone who has like a kind of weak bench, one thing I would recommend is to have at least one good option in there. Obviously, Duffy isn't too bad, but when he kind of loses a spot, which is pretty inevitable, I think, potentially, that's when it could be a bit of an issue. Why are people adverse to a premium keeper? I think just because, for example, you look at Mendy, he's 6 million-ish. You have Chilwell and James, who they can get the clean sheet as well. They can get more bonus points, and they have the attacking potential. So I don't really think it's worth it. Then you look at Edison versus Cancelo. Once again, Cancelo just offers far better value. Then you look at Trent against Alisson. I know Trent's a bit more expensive, around 1.5 million more, but he just offers so much more. So for me, obviously there's still decent options, but then you look at, for example, Ramsdale, Gaeta, McCarthy. They're ticking along nicely. Martinez last year, Pope a few years ago. They tend to actually outscore the premium keepers. They get more bonus points, saves, etc., higher ceiling. So there's not really a big reason to go for these premium keepers, in my opinion. Thank you to Flying Dutchman. I'm off. Was here just for a few questions. Thank you very much, mate. Looking forward to see you next week, and obviously take care. Gallagher or Cornet or Bowen? It's between Bowen or Gallagher for me, and I probably look. Bowen has some tough fixtures coming up now, but after that they're exceptional. To be honest, I think maybe Gallagher is the safest one of the 3, but I do like Bowen a lot, if I'm being honest. Duffy to Johnson, Mount to Son, and Mbeumo to Gallagher for a -4 thoughts. If you need to do Duffy to Johnson to achieve that, then yes, I would. But if you can just afford Mount to Son and then Mbeumo to Gallagher, go for it, mate. Trent versus Vardy. I'd start Trent in that case, and I'd rather keep him long term. Jesus. All right, your prediction for Liverpool versus Arsenal. I think Liverpool will win. I'd like to say, 3-1 maybe? 2 or 3-1. I'd probably go 3-1. Oh yeah, rock and roll. Yeah, the 2 questions. One is the code for Discord doesn't work. If I can get another. Alright, cool. I'll check that out. Yeah, I'm not too sure why. It said the code would expire in a week. I'll have a look at that after the stream. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, that's one question, isn't it? Yeah, so looking forward for the second question. On wildcard, got Gaeta, Foster, Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo, Livramento, James, Foden, Jota, Salah, Gallagher, Mbeumo, Tony, Antonio, and Armstrong. What do you think? I probably would stay clear of the double Brentford attack, but the rest looks exceptional, to be honest. If you have enough money, I would get Bowen in right now for Mbeumo, to be honest. But yeah, the rest looks really good. And if not, maybe Armstrong for... Oh, you've already got Armstrong. What am I saying? But yeah, I mean, let me actually think about who you would bench this week. It's a bit of a tough benching headache, but yeah, that's a really good team overall. If you do back Brentford to kind of turn their form around, and I think they will improve, then keep both of them. But I think just one is enough, and even then, I'm kind of thinking of getting rid of my one. Thanks for the feedback, mate. Great feed, by the way. Thank you very much, mate. Very much appreciated. I just said Merry, didn't I? Jesus, why is this Christmas? Will Trent be an absolute nailed figure as they have Arsenal? You don't have to obviously play Trent or have him for this fixture, but just in long term, he's a really good option. And I still think Liverpool, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep a clean sheet against Arsenal, if I'm being completely honest. And he can get an assist or a goal. So, yeah, I'm not really too bothered really by that. I think he's a great option. Mbeumo, Livramento, Vardy, which one to bench? I would either bench Vardy or Mbeumo, and I'd probably bench Vardy, even though that seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? Yeah, Ashish, I think I answered your question already. You put your team already. 2 free transfers. I think, yeah, Rafinha and Benrahma. I'd look to downgrade to Gallagher. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Gallagher and Bowen. I would do that. Downgrade Livramento to Johnson to potentially afford Lukaku. I mean, once again, let's wait and see how Lukaku recovers. And when he was playing, he wasn't really doing too well, was he? So I wouldn't be in a rush to do that. But Johnson is a good option, to be fair. Thank you, Kobe. Thank you very much for tuning in. And look forward to seeing you soon. Which transfer should I do? Kane to Vardy and Salah to Bissouma, or Son to Havertz, Salah to Bissouma? Both of them are -4. Oof. Wait, getting rid of Kane to Vardy? Oh, I'm guessing it's the other way around. I wouldn't, yeah. I do Havertz to Son, mate, Gaming Zone. Start Rafinha or Reguilon Emerson? I'd actually start Rafinha. Would you do a sideways move, James to Rudiger for a -4? James will be my only Chelsea defender. Oh, Rudiger to James. Yeah, it is worth a -4, to be honest, yeah. I know the thing I'd be worried about is Rudiger's record against Leicester. Maybe I'm overthinking it a bit too much, but he loves playing against them. He scored last season and the year before. But I think James long-term is worth it. Hello, mate. What do you think? Guy to Rudiger, Trent, Cancelo, Livramento, Duffy, Salah, Rafinha, Smith Rowe, Son, Antonio, Vardy, Tony, Sissoko. Yeah, that's a really good team. In terms of who would I bench? Rudiger, Trent, Cancelo, Livramento, Duffy. I'd probably bench Duffy, actually. If not, potentially Rudiger, although that could backfire. And Smith Rowe. I'd definitely bench Smith Rowe. Yeah, Smith Rowe, Sissoko, and I would bench Duffy. Pick a combo, Tony and Son or Jota and Jesus. Tony and Son, but once again, bear in mind, let's wait and see the news on Son's potential injury. Rafinha or Gallagher? Gallagher for me long-term, Rodriguez. Start my wildcard after Game Week 17, or do we get a chance to reshuffle our squads, or is it just the wildcard? If you keep your first wildcard, that will be burned. You know, once the second wildcard becomes active, you know, you can't store it and have 2 wildcards, you know, heading into Game Week 18 or 19. So I would use it, you know, before Game Week 17, which is a hiccup. I'm not sure exactly when. I think it's 18 or 19 when they kind of reset and you get the second one coming in. But yeah, I'd look to be using the wildcard either now or up until Game Week 16, 17. After Game Week 17, do we get a chance to reshuffle our squads, or is it only 2 wildcards? Yeah, it's only 2 wildcards, pretty much, yeah. It's not going to be, yeah. If you store your first wildcard, once again, you know, that will be burned. And then if you use your second one, that's it. You have no more. You can't store 2 of them and be in a great position like that. But yeah, you can't do that. And should I do a wildcard this week or next one? Team is Sanchez, Foster, Rudiger, Matip, Chalobah, Walker, Brownhill, Mount, Foden, Salah, Son. That's a good question. I honestly would actually consider using the wildcard this week, mate. The reason why I say that is because Sanchez is suspended. Foster's got a bad fixture. Instead of Rudiger, you can start to get in Chilwell, James. Chalobah's another one who's in and out of the team. Matip, you don't have Trent. You don't have Cancelo. Livramento, if he's fit. You know, I think you could actually improve your defence quite a bit. Mount as well. Obviously, he's a good option when he starts, but he's not that good, in my opinion, obviously. Foden and Salah's really good, of course. Antonio, Vardy, exceptional picks, especially over the next 4 or 5. But yeah, the rest I'd probably be looking to kind of shuffle around. So honestly, if I was in my team, I would actually probably wildcard rock and roll. But yeah, I have Mane and Rafinha. Should I sell them for Son and Jota? Yeah, definitely, mate. I would go for that. If you have enough money for Foden instead of Jota, go for that instead. But that's good as well. As an Arsenal fan, Tavares or Tierney? This season, Tavares has been better, but Tierney is the better player, in my opinion. But obviously, they're kind of at different stages of their careers. Tierney's a bit more established, more experienced, and obviously, he's won a lot at Celtic as well. But yeah, this season, Tavares, I think he doesn't deserve to be dropped, but you never know. So Tierney does have a lot of credit in the bank. Hi, Dylan. Great streaming advice. Cornet or Son for Grealish? I'd go for Son, but once again, adds he is a little bit of an injury doubt at the moment, so let's wait and see. And is Kane a risk? Because of his form, you have to say so, but you know, we know Kane's quality. He's shown it for England yesterday, even though it was against, you know, relatively poor opposition. Kane is a great player overall. Look at last season, was the best player in the Premier League, arguably. And also the fixtures are fantastic for Spurs. Conte's the manager. And yeah, I think he's still worth the risk. Thanks a lot, mate. Much appreciated. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Sisman. Much appreciated. Gaming Zone. I think I already read out your team. I meant Vardy to Kane. Sorry, mate. But can you tell me which one I should do? I'm not sure what the other thing was because I have to go a bit up. Let's see. Oh, you said Kane to Vardy and Salah to Bissouma. Yeah, Vardy to Kane. Yeah, I'd still do Havertz to Son, personally, Gaming Zone. That's what I would do. Do you think I should bring in Salah, Bowen and Bernardo Jota by Game Week 15 and play 2-5-3 formation? Yeah, unfortunately, you can't play two at the back. So the rules state, in terms of your formation, you have to play at least 3 defenders, 2 midfielders, and at least 1 forward. So a 3-4-3, 3-5-2, that's eligible. A 4-3-3, 4-4-2, 4-5-1, 5-4-1, 5-3-2, 5-2-3. You can play those sorts of formations, but yeah, you can't play another one really. I might have missed one, by the way, but yeah, you can't do that. You can't play 2 at the back. And yeah, who should you bring in? Salah, Bowen, and Bernardo, Jota. I think Bowen, because by Game Week 15, you're getting ready. You don't have to get him in by Game Week 15, by the way, but you're ahead of the curve, ahead of those really good fixtures from 16 onwards for West Ham. Yeah, but all good options. I like Jota a lot. If you don't decide to get in Bowen, I'd go for Jota over Bernardo. By the way, who's better, Chilwell or James? It's a difficult one. It's 50-50. I've gone for Chilwell because Alonso's injured at the moment and Chilwell's nailed. But they're both really good options. I think the main reason why I'd go for Chilwell as well is because he tends to come off less from the bench. And the reason why I say that is because James can come off for those 1-pointers. He blocks those points from the bench coming on to save your week. But obviously they're both really good, and James is in better form. I have Son till Game Week 15 at least. Fair enough. Yeah, I think Son, obviously, let's see his injury situation. Son injured. Well, apparently he sustained an injury during international break. He hasn't been training today, but it's a minor knock. I think he could be fine for Leeds. If you're asking me right now, what do I think? And obviously I could be wrong. I think he'll be fine, but let's wait and see. Tavares to keep Salah in his back pocket this game week? I don't think so, man. I think Salah... yeah, no, I'm not. I'd prefer not to speak, to be honest. But yeah, I think Salah, Mane if he plays, Jota. I see them scoring 2 or 3. Foden to Son, Diaz downgrade, or Rafinha downgrade for Vardy to Kane. I'd say Rafinha downgrade for Vardy to Kane, mate, and I do Rafinha to Bowen or Gallagher if you can do it. Thanks, Dylan. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Ads. Much appreciated, and good to see you here, mate. -4 for Jota from Rafinha. Worth it? I think it is potentially worth it, but you don't have to do it this week. Rafinha could match or outscore Jota this week. I could see both of them scoring, though. Thank you, Mahesh. Much appreciated. Thanks for the feedback, mate. I have the same defense as you, playing all 5. Getting rid of Havertz for Son. Yeah, in your situation, I'd do the exact same. If I got Havertz in, he definitely would become Son very soon. Fun fact, your bank account is actually a lie. You got to count it up in transfers for accurate count. Yeah, fair enough, yeah. I actually have to read it twice just to kind of comprehend it. What the hell? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a good point. Start 2 and Mbeumo, Tony, Rafinha, Rodrigo. I'd start Tony and Mbeumo, and if you're not confident with benching Rafinha, I'd start him over Mbeumo. Steer to Foster for -4, worth it? Nah. Not for me. Not Steer to Foster. If it was Steer to Ramsdale or Gaeta, then yes, long term will pay off, but not for Foster. Mane got substituted early yesterday. Yeah, apparently he could be fine for the next Senegal game, and I expect him to be good for the Arsenal game in Game Week 12, so I'm not really too worried about that anyway, and obviously, from an Arsenal perspective, it's not really a good news if he is back fit, and he's another one who loves playing against the Gunners. But yeah, I think he should be fine. Obviously, let's wait and see. A lot of these kind of news and stuff, they do get blown out of proportion a little bit. I prefer not to speak. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I noticed as soon as I said speak, I'm like, oh, I'm sounding like Mourinho. But yeah, maybe it's a sign of me becoming a crap manager or something. No, but yeah. Mourinho's a really good manager, mate, of course. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone who's been tuning in today. Very much appreciate over 100 people for most of the stream. I haven't actually been able to keep count. At one point, the chat was very busy, but we've got through most of the questions, the teams and stuff. If I missed out anything, let me know down in the comment section below. And same with the preview. If you want any questions, comments, or topics covered, feel free to put them down in the comment section below, and I'll try to go through all of them. Shayub says Diaz to Cancelo and Vardy to Kane, captain. Yeah, that looks really good, to be honest. I do like Vardy. I like keeping him for the next 5, but that looks really good. And Diaz to Cancelo at the moment doesn't look like a sideways move, to be honest. And if Cancelo continues to start, really good. Thank you, Christian, very much. Good to see you on here once again. Portugal and Spain might not make the first round of World Cup. Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's going to be an interesting World Cup, isn't it? But yeah, I've talked about this before. People have asked, who do you think is going to win and stuff. It's kind of early to say, but you kind of have a good idea of the best teams already. from South America, it's definitely Argentina and Brazil. And, from Europe, you've got Germany are kind of slowly creeping back up. Same as Spain. You've got Italy, France. So, yeah, even England, you could say, but I don't see them winning it. Let's wait and see. But, yeah, your starting five at the back, definitely Mourinho. Yeah, true. That's true. To be fair, the Mourinho's kind of known for just playing 4 at the back. Well, on paper, it's a 4 at the back, and then he puts like 9 players behind the ball or something. Trossard or Jota, I'd still go for Jota, at least for the next few. But if it was, before the last 2 fixtures, or at least last fixture, I did actually recommend Trossard for the free hit for game week 11. But long term, or at least for the next 3 or 4, I'd rather have Jota. Should I bench Mbeumo or Tony for Rudiger? Probably Mbeumo, but if not, you could just start both of them and bench Rudiger. My team is the same as yours, except I have Smith Rowe over Memo. Oh, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I got Townsend. He's pretty poor, isn't he? Yeah, that was kind of a big mistake on my wild card. Vardy to Wilson to free up funds for Jota and 5 playing midfielders. Fair enough. You might have a situation, Steve, where you have 8 attackers, so you're going to have some benching headaches, but still, it's a good thing going into the Christmas period to kind of have all these options. But, yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I do like Wilson for the next 4. And I think Vardy, obviously, this week, I don't really expect him to do anything. But after that, he's looking really good. Thank you very much to everyone once again. And like I said, if I did miss out any questions or comments, then feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed it, once again, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. As we always say, it will actually help out the channel very, very much. So obviously, thank you very much to everyone who has been tuning in. These are my socials if you want to follow. And that's how you could actually have your teams feature in this live stream and have the image on screen. You send an image, a clean cropped image, on Instagram or Twitter, and even email. Actually, some people did that as well. And then I'll edit it and everything, put it together, and then your teams will feature and I'll break it down. So if you want to see all of the kind of 15 teams I rated, go to the beginning of the live stream, and that's where I kind of talk about all of them in detail. And then from then on in, it was me kind of rating all the teams and answering all the questions and comments that came through the live chat. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of this Saturday night, which it is in the UK. Enjoy the rest of your international break. Good luck for Game Week 12. Let's see the kind of news and updates we get for Son, Livramento and Mane, and will be very interesting to see that can actually, maybe change the whole landscape of FPL. Maybe a lot of people are going to be going for Kane now over Son. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.